Hey, you're not Clint?
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Everybody Wang Chung tonight. Everybody, I'm Clint
Bye,
tonight.
Dustin. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Clint. We are back with another episode of Versus. Look at this shirt. Look at this, Dustin.
Oh, man, that's great.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. We're going to have a great show. I have got a great panel today. We've got R2 and C3PO hanging out right over there, as usual. And we're going to be talking about the new Shang-Chi movie, which just released and broke all kinds of records. The greatest release in the history of Labor Day releases. Secret, they don't release big movies on Labor Day, but still, it's the greatest release in the history of Labor Day releases. But before I get everybody in, also we're going to talk about Undisputed 2 and 3. If you don't know who that is, Bjorka. Bjorka, is it? She sings Human Behavior.
That's
She's
right.
Fantastic. But before we get into that, guys, it's time. If you want to help the channel out, take a second to share this with your friends. Go over, share this on social media, and say, "Hey, we're having a good time talking in the chat, and you guys should come watch and give these guys all your money." And make sure you click the notification bell so we can let you know about future videos and live streams. All right, let's get the gang in. What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Good evening.
Everybody.
Hello. First of all, we got me up here, and then look, it's Dustin.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm Dustin Stroud.
Oh, look, behind Dustin Stroud is Dustin Stroud.
That's right.
Dustin,
How's your fucking mind blown?
how you doing, Dustin?
I'm doing great.
All right, Curtis, how you doing down there?
I'm doing well. Can you repost that link, Clint?
Yes, sir. You want YouTube or Facebook?
I think the Facebook one.
Curtis, I like you with glasses, man. You look like Professor Hulk.
Yes, and to the left of Curtis, aka Professor Hulk, we have Professor Brett Baker, my older brother. He's a professor.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
He's
What's
also the ambassador of Kick Your Assiter.
That's right. How's it going, Brett? Man, I'm stoked to have you on.
Doing great.
Brett,
Yeah, good to be on the show.
I've talked about you on the show before. I've said this man is a man of many talents, healing and destroying people and horror. I think it's awesome that you're here to because you can give some background and some insight on things and maybe educate us a little bit on certain things, especially in martial arts. Last week we did Ip Man. We'll probably talk a little bit about it again. I know you watched that today. How did you like that?
I enjoyed it. The first kung fu school in our system is Wing Chun, so I like it. It was a good show.
Cool. Yeah, Donnie Yen is badass. Well, guys, I had never seen Undisputed 2 and 3. Before we get into that, though, we're gonna jump in here and say hi to the gang in the chat. We got Chris Klink saying, "I'm waiting on you." Okay, we got.
I'm waiting on you.
You're late again.
In the parking lot.
Yeah.
After the.
We got Dylan says,
Dylan.
Hi. Chris Klink, you're a lead singer. You know that the party doesn't start until I get here. Come on.
Yeah, man.
That's right. Actually,
You're lead singer of this action.
Actually, we were waiting on Dustin, but we were going to start without him. It's just I've had a heck of a day today, and so it's okay. So let's see here.
I love the fact too that it's the one day I wasn't like 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
You start without me.
It's typical. Let's see here. All right. Well, let's Undisputed 2 and 3, guys. What did you think about these movies?
Oh yeah, there's just happy little accidents.
Man, how's that happening over here?
I don't know. It's a happy little accident, Clint. There's
Yeah.
no mistakes.
Dustin,
I like the fact.
Yeah. What did you think?
I think it's interesting. I don't know if it was on purpose or they because they're between 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's 3 directors, and 2 and 3 have the same directors. But what's cool about these is they kind of dovetail into each other. Like the Michael Jai White character of Undisputed I was, I believe, played by Ving Rhames, and he's sort of the bad guy, right?
Uh-huh.
So he becomes the good guy of 2 and fights the bad guy of 2, who becomes the good guy kind of 3, which is really, I mean, it's cool how it dovetails like that. I don't know if they intended to do that or they figured out from 1 that's like, hey, that gives it cool continuity and slides. You know, you could keep that going on forever if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Like make the next bad guy the good guy of the next film. I like that idea. And if you're going to be thin on story writing, even though 2 is not thin on story writing, it is very well written from storytelling point of view. It's not just an excuse for dudes to fight other dudes, get sweaty, take the shirts off, and fight.
But it is cool that
It's
there's
super
some
cool.
kick-ass
Yeah.
fight. The choreography in the movie is awesome. And I was at first I was like, this is going to be a dumb movie, but it'll be fun to watch people kick the crap out of each other. But then the story got good. I was like, oh wow, this is cool. Curtis, what did you think?
Yeah, so I was kind of the same way. I felt especially part 3. I was very surprised at how good the story was. The part 2 definitely has, I would say, more story. And once part 3 got going, I was like, okay, that's fine. This one's pretty much gonna be like a tournament fighter style. But when they got into it and really started getting the story going, I thought the story was really well done.
On both, I thought
Yeah.
they surprised me both times. I was like, wow, these are actually really well written, like B movies. Really, I mean,
Right.
but they're better, more entertaining than your average B
They'd
movie.
be Netflix movies now.
Yeah, that is a thing. You know, Netflix will trick you. They'll give somebody a bunch of money to be in their movie, and then it'll be a dog shit movie. And I don't know why it happens over and over. I'm like, well, you know, you got this guy's in it. I'll watch this movie, and every time it's just like that was lackluster. I could have gone out and gone to Subway or something, done something exciting. You know what I mean? And I'm like, how did they trick me into doing it again? I'm like, maybe they got Thor. Chris Helmsworth is in this. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, they fooled me again.
Hold on. Going to Subway is exciting for you, Clint?
More exciting
I could've been doing-
that's my point. It's more exciting than half of these Netflix movies. They keep it's really disappointing because they're really good at doing series. Like they'll do a kick-ass series, but then they'll get a top-notch actor, put him in the movie, and then you're like, okay, let's watch this, and it sucks every time. I don't know what the hell's wrong.
I wish Rutger Hauer hadn't passed away. He could be in like a million Netflix movies. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Because he used to be the straight-to-video guy. Do you feel like Netflix is like the like Bush League? Remember Blockbuster Video has like the B movies where you're like, come on, this will be good. The movie I want is like out, but you know, this got so and so and so and so in it.
That's exactly what Netflix has become. It's you pace around the movie store.
Come at me,
and you're like,
Netflix.
Okay, sure.
But it's also an equalizer, right? So everything used to be centralized in Hollywood, and now if you have a camera and you can write a story, and you don't need that much set. I mean, you could make an entire movie in one apartment or in one building. Honestly, you don't need that much on-site stuff, special effects even. Anyone that's a good storyteller can now get their story out there and get on that. So I'm happy for those, mainly because I was in a production that didn't make it, but was going to be on there. It was like a Star Wars fan film, and
cool,
I played a Sith that wielded a Jedi that was a rope dart Jedi. It was a rope dart lightsaber, is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, but just the potential for that to be able to make it. We had some things happen in the production. It didn't make it but they had contracts for stuff. Anyway, what I'm saying is that now anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, in Austin, in Houston, Texas, in Wisconsin, you can make a movie and you can get it out to the world without the filter of Hollywood. There used to only be 3 channels on television, and that's
right.
all there was. Yeah. But now you can put out mega content on so many streaming services in so many different ways.
Be so
that
niche.
Uh-oh. He froze. Hold on a second here.
I think I shook his snow globe. with the word
You
niche.
just froze up.
There we go. There, you're back.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So I think it's great, and sometimes when I see the B movies on Netflix or one of the other channels, I might realize that this is an up and coming, development, that they're getting their shot at it,
Yeah.
and I take it with that grain of salt.
I've seen a lot of really cool European films that have come out that are and they'll be overdubbed and stuff, and I've been really surprised by a lot of stuff. Not that Europe isn't capable of making movies, but we're used to seeing everything come out of Hollywood, like you said, and to see that is very
I think
cool.
that's an extremely optimistic and hot take, actually, Brett, and that kind of dovetails into like what Clint and I always say, that people are spoiled, and when a film comes along that's like, if you were watching it in the late 90s, early 2000s, you would have like pooped your pants, how like good it was.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're just kind of like spoiled with that now.
That's actually a topic down the
downrange.
Yeah.
I know.
If you
Little spoiler.
Yeah.
At the same time,
Little
I do like
teaser.
how Netflix has saved several shows
yes,
and
Yeah, man.
franchises, like stuff that had been dead for a few years even. They've been able to get it back in there, and the resurgence of like fans was able to get a second season or whatever, a new season or a new sequel and stuff like that were like under the radar movies that nobody would finance until they got on Netflix, and people like word of mouth got out there and people would like watch them and enjoy them.
It's pretty. Yeah. Hold on. Check it out.
Where's he at, baby?
I see that your Schwartz is as big as my Schwartz.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Man, I can't wait for the Book of Boba Fett. That's gonna be exciting. Woohoo! They just saved that show that I can't think of it, but the plane takes off and it lands 5 years later.
Manifest.
Yeah, they just saved that. They just got another season of that, and they're gonna get to conclude that story. So a lot of people are hyped up about that. Pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
I heard a
back
bunch
Serenity.
of good stuff.
Serenity. Yeah. Bring
Yeah.
it back, man.
Yeah.
Bring back Serenity.
And Firefly.
Exactly.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion's looking good. Well, back to Undisputed, because let's
Imagine
wish
how
Nathan
excited
Fillion
he'd
was
get
in
if he saw Nathan Fillion at Subway. Clint would just be
Oh,
like,
I'd be
Yeah.
stoked.
"Oh
That's
my
everything.
god!"
Nathan Fillion
It-
making a Subway sandwich.
Oh, dude,
Oh,
he's got a
God.
chubby right now.
Yeah. Hey, look.
I would love a Nathan Fillion.
Bob Ross, you're back.
I would love a Nathan Fillion Subway sandwich.
You just have to do the gentle strokes.
Yeah.
Let's see real quick how we doing in the chat. Hi guys, Scar Wall says hi guys.
Scar, what's up?
Curtis,
Hey,
I
hey.
love the glasses, old man.
Scar.
Do I need to bust mine out?
Scar. Nice
Scar
gloves.
Wall.
Your brother didn't know what that meant.
That's it. We've got another Baker
Mhm.
in the chat, so we're
Yes.
just
Yeah.
coming at Dustin like a cloud.
Baker in
Yeah.
it.
I've changed my name to Baker. I kept telling Clint the next band we should be in should just be called Baker.
Like Hanson.
Yeah.
Dylan says like that movie with Amy Adams and Gary Oldman. I don't know which movie he's
I don't know,
talking
man,
about.
but Gary Oldman, we're about to fight Dylon, and I'm about to get my butt kicked because you're a Dylon. But Gary Oldman has never, ever made a bad movie.
Yeah, I can't think of one. I'm sure Chris will
Yeah.
school you here in a
Come
second.
at me, Chris.
Yeah.
It ain't White Boy Day.
So I liked. I think I'm gonna have to. I thought I was gonna like 2 better than 3 when I saw Undisputed, but then by the end of 3, I turned around and I liked 3 better.
Isn't it cool how in 3 they like, he's like the fall from grace and he's got to make his way back up, kind of like a Bad News Bears kind of like situation, and he like does it. But it's not like easy. There's not like one
Yeah.
montage and then he's back to like, I am the most complete fighter in the world. He's not like, get the fuck out of here. He's not like that.
They do a really good job of making him an asshole that you like. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? It's weird because he's just an asshole fighter, and like they try to talk to him, and he's just like, stop talking.
Yeah.
He's just like an angry
That's
Russian
the first
guy.
time you see him in 2.
Yeah.
In 2, he's like praying, and somebody walks in, and he's just like, "Get the fuck out of here."
Why don't you shut the fuck up?
Yeah, totally.
You know, but then by the end of the movie, you love him. He's great. So,
Man, I feel bad for all these Russians with all these stereotypes.
yeah.
Just
So,
like, they're like the Klingons of the world.
Undisputed 3. That's the other. I made a title card for both. Really, it's honestly, it's like what you. I think you nailed it. And I talked to Chris Clint the other day, and he said the same thing. I feel like it's just one long movie. You should just do yourself a favor and watch 2 and 3 back to back, and that'll be like a complete story.
I
That's-
made a really beautiful painting during Undisputed 3. It was one of my best, a landscape. It was of a
Oh, damn it.
snow-clipped mountains.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Totally.
The ghost of Bob Ross loves our
Yeah.
show, so
Loves
tell your
Dustin
friends
Stroud.
to like and subscribe. Yeah, I definitely want to watch 4 now. I want to
Yes.
watch. I hadn't even seen 1, and I didn't realize. Dustin, you were saying earlier that Michael Jai White,
Took over the
that's
role.
Ving Rhames' character.
I
character
think so. I
from the
think
first
so.
one?
It's been so long
Um,
since I saw
yes,
1, but I like 1, and 1 was
Wesley
more of
That
a
was Ving Rhames and Wesley Snipes.
it was
Yeah.
more of a boxing
Ving-
kind of
cool.
thing.
Ving
too.
Rhames and Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, it was more of a boxing sort of thing. But I mean, who doesn't
I mean,
like
what year
Michael
was it
Jai
even
White?
put out?
What's that?
98 or something.
Yeah,
like
What
that.
something
year
like
was the first one put out? Was it like
Let's see.
early UFC? Before that?
UFC had been out for a couple years, I think, but UFC was so like UFC 1 was 96 or something, I think. But
Dude, I remember we used to get
Dude.
those. We used to go get those.
it was so
VHS
underground.
tapes.
You'd be roll the dice if you could find Faces or Death or UFC 1 in your local
2002.
video store. You had to like go through the the little beads.
Dude, when we lived on Sunset Valley Trail, and
Yeah.
we used to go get the VHS tapes of, dude, a new UFC came out. We'd watch it. And it's crazy that now it's just like a
Watch
on, like,
some
every
dude with a
week.
giant mustache and wrestling shoes like maul somebody.
Tank Abbott. He was the best.
He didn't come along till
I know, but
4 or 5 or maybe even 10. I can't remember.
Chris Boyka's turn from heel to babyface was like Stone Cold Steve Austin's. He was same asshole.
Yeah, man.
We just liked him. Yep,
That's true.
that's right.
That's very apt, Chris. I like that.
Yeah, he was, but at the same time, he had a character arc too, to
Mhm.
where he was actually taking care of somebody that when he didn't have to. He helped Turbo out. He did a lot of things that were outside of his character, so like that was part of his redemption as well. Like, he was still an asshole, but he was an asshole that was doing good things, and
He's
I
like a
think that
hooker
really-
with a heart of gold.
Well, I remember back in those early UFCs we were talking about, like, and it's kind of like this on the Undisputed 3. They're having different fighting styles. There'll be one guy doing the roll around
Capoeira.
thing, and then the next guy will be more like Japanese karate, and then the next guy will be something else, and like and I remember back in the old days, it was like you had different styles, and sometimes you just had a cage like
Mhm.
drunk redneck who knew how to throw fists on UFC. You know what I mean? And then and it almost was like they're trying to figure out what was the best style. And now I feel like everyone is just doing mixed martial arts. Like, okay,
Yes.
Hoist Gracie beat everybody, so now we all need to learn this shit, and they get in there and on in UFC, and it's a lot of everything mixed together. What do you think about that, Brett? I mean, do you have any comment on that?
I think he's frozen again.
He's frozen.
Frozen in time.
Oh.
Or he's
Damn
in
it.
super deep contemplation.
Damn it, Elsa.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Do
Let's
you
see.
want to build a snowman?
Let's see if we get him back. If we don't, and he's just frozen like that
So-
the whole show, it'll.
So when we're waiting for Brett, I think you're right on that. And I also UFC was so cool because it was like a real Street Fighter cartoon. Like a
Exactly.
real Street Fighter, like the game, because you had the one dude that had this style and that style. It was inevitable that the cream rises to the top and people emulate each other to get the best system.
Well, and they didn't even have weight classes in the first. At the
Yeah,
beginning.
that
it
was
was
crazy.
it was crazy. And
One dude
yeah,
with one boxing glove on and one boxing glove off.
I don't even.
and there was I remember watching it too, and there were several guys who were like, "Yes, and I practice ninjutsu."
Yeah, totally.
I'm out there, I'm like, "What? Like what? What do you? Is that a real thing?"
I'm literally a fucking ninja.
They didn't even have gloves back in the old days.
Well, you
Right.
could wear gloves. Like there was one dude that wore like that quickly got beaten, but wore one boxing glove, and you could wear shoes. I remember like there was like it happened while Vitor Belfort was, I think, heavyweight champion. It went from shoes to no shoes, like almost overnight.
That's
They had on
crazy.
those.
He was the grappling Russian guy, right?
Vitor Belfort is Brazilian. He is a grappler,
Oh.
but he's a striker with like he's like a got kickboxing and jiu-jitsu and some wrestling. Vitor, remember they called him the Phenom? He was like 20 years old and he had like no fucking neck. He's the guy that Randy Couture came back and beat, but like nobody can beat this guy. And Captain America came back and fucking beat him. I'd like to see Undisputed like 10 with Randy Couture. That's what I'm fucking waiting on. If you're going to just put all my favorite. I bet, you know what? Wait a minute. I might be crazy, but I think Chuck Liddell is in one of those. Is in some Undisputed. I'm not sure.
That would make sense, actually. Let me see.
Yeah.
I lost Brett, but he's going to call back.
Word. Yeah, I think also just while we're like kind of talking around the subject of Undisputeds, they 2 and 3 have the same director. I wish I would have taken notes on that, but he's actually a highly revered action and martial arts director.
Oh, cool.
If somebody wants to look it up. And Michael Jai White's been in a couple of his movies. I think there's some movie called Bone and something else that's like a really fucking gritty, good martial arts movie.
Bone Thugs and Harmony?
Yeah, Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yeah, there you are. We got you back, Brett.
I think the question we had
Yeah,
asked,
man.
right? You asked.
Yeah, I was talking, and it was funny because you were frozen, and I thought you were just like in awe of how stupid my question was or something. Because you're just like.
You're just sitting there like.
But I was talking. Did we lose you again? He's frozen again. What is going on? Uh-oh.
But Michael Jai White is one of those action stars.
Yeah,
that
he's really good.
Real mixed martial artists really actually revere that guy and think he's legit.
Yeah, and I'd heard that he actually is fight trained. That he's got, I don't know how much or something like that, but he's actually had fight training and it shows.
I think he's done like tournament style. Like I don't think it's like point karate or some shit, but it's kind of like maybe not quite as involved as like when Chuck Norris did the legit kickboxing circuit.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that like.
But he's had high pressure style match kind of stuff.
It reminded me a lot, or it didn't, but it always made me, and a lot of these do, and I don't know why this movie is always stuck in my brain, but did y'all ever see the movie The Quest with Van Damme?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like, I saw that in theaters. I remember it was not good. I mean, I remember there's like these two British guys, and they're like, well, now we have to go on another adventure or something like that. But
yeah,
it was based like a straight up tournament fighter. Like Van Damme does something, and then like it's just fight.
Yeah.
So like I want to rewatch
exposition so they can get to the fights.
Exactly.
It's like basically how erotic like Skinamax movies was just exposition to get to like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I thought.
Bloodsport. We're on Bloodsport now.
Oh, we're talking about worse. We're talking about, what is it, Quest? Or what was it?
The Quest.
The Quest.
With Van Damme.
Oh, boy.
I wonder if I saw that.
I don't know. Man, there were so many good ones that came out back in the day. I was earlier before we got disconnected. I was saying how back in the old days, when you watch like UFC, it was different styles and
right,
you know, and you have one guy, you know, is just a burly cage fighter with bare knuckle boxer, and then another guy's practicing like judo, and then other guys doing like what capoeira,
Capoeira.
rolling around, and it was
karate,
and then you got a Greco-Roman wrestler comes in, and it was exciting to
Dan
see
Severn.
to see these different guys all competing, and now it's like all morphed where everybody's just doing mixed martial arts, and it's all the same shit to me. You know what I mean? It's still fun to watch.
It's a rule set. So they crafted a set of rules that leads toward a style that works in that set of rules. And so that's what happened. Also, in the early UFC, it was a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to fight like 3 fights to get to the end. And they would break their hands on the first fight.
Yeah.
And so these cage fights, when you see these other things like the movie you were talking about before, Undisputed, you're in a prison fighting. I don't know if they had gloves or not. I doubt it.
Just wraps.
Most people break their hands doing that. So just remember, if you ever have to get into a scrap on the street where your life depends on it, don't be surprised if your hands break. Just go ahead and do what you got to do to finish and get out of there alive. But happens all the time. And then when they come see me, they say they punched a wall.
Yeah, totally.
I'm hoping
They've got the
some of these
boxer. They've
guys-
got the boxer fracture.
Yeah, I'm hoping some of these guys who punched a wall or a door frame were actually in a fight and they're just lying because they don't want it to be on a record or something. Because
Brett, do you remember Pancras? Like Boz Rutan's was the Pancras.
Pancrit, the fighting style,
Yeah.
like from India.
They had it was a European league where they could only do open hand strikes. It was like kickboxing, but you could strike and grappling, but you could strike. It's only open hand striking. And Boz Rutan was knocking people out. He was like a UFC heavyweight champ, or maybe light heavyweight.
Absolutely.
But he was knocking people out with palm strikes.
Yeah, I would really like to see someone come into the UFC just palm striking everybody because, I mean, you break your hands. But the gloves, then I guess it's not made for all that. But yeah,
The eye gouges. It's what you said with the rule set.
rules.
The rule
Right,
set
right.
creates the style. I agree. That is so interesting, Brett. I haven't heard. I don't know about Curtis, but out of all this fight commentating I've ever listened to, I've never heard somebody put it that way. That the style evolves to what it is because the rule set dictates that this is the most, effective.
In Kung Fu, there's some pretty esoteric stuff, and Bruce Lee was absorb what is useful and reject what is useless. He was kind of sifting through everything. It's awesome and it flows and it works great. And so that's the system. My primary system is Kung Fu basis now. And at the top levels of Kung Fu, there's something called Dim Mak, which works on acupuncture system and meridians. And they do a lot of healing with that. And if you do the opposite of healing and obstruct a meridian, it can be harmful and legendarily deadly. And that's what Tai Chi actually is. Mm-hmm. At the top levels of Tai Chi, when they fight someone, they can defeat them by rerouting their energy and stuff like that. They're not there, or you bring in an attack and they redirect the attack. But the submission, as it were, is Dim Mak strikes. So Tai Chi actually, most of the time, national thing that everybody has to do for health and fitness, and you see people doing it, as a happy, healthy thing, is actually pretty devastating martial art. Mm-hmm. But my point is, they're not going to let you do Dim Mak strikes in a UFC match, as an example. Well, they wouldn't know what they were, but
Well, see, no, yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought it was much more of a natural evolution. Well, I mean, no,
so they want people to come back. You can't, lock something to the point of breaking it. And trust me, jiu-jitsu will break shit. Everything. It's just good not to actually take people out. But some things don't work unless you actually take people out. Either you do or you don't.
When you were talking about were you talking about death touch, where you hitting meridians
exactly,
and stuff?
yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's the real. They hit them in lymph areas. Those are target. Some of the target areas are it's not just you're frozen.
What I wanted to ask though is though being cross trained in Eastern and Western medicine. find things like okay, yeah, this meridian goes through here and blah blah, but also you're
Absolutely
poking them in the thyroid or whatever, you know.
Right. Well, no, absolutely. So like one, this one striking point in the meridian system, they're like, that's stomach 9. And I'm like, well, that's also the carotid baroreceptor, which regulates your blood pressure. And so, a strike to that will bottom out someone's blood pressure. But most people don't think strike to the carotid baroreceptor and bottom out the blood pressure. No, they just think, me hit big thing with big thing.
Yeah.
And then me slam, But yeah, no, it's actually pretty raw thing to do, to hit someone or even choke them right in there. Just reach up and grab and, squeeze that carotid baroreceptor while shaking their neck. And they're like, what's this? So you're about to find out. That's stupid what you're doing. Oh, yeah, your knees are going weak, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, boy. Yeah, that's crazy, man. What were you going to say, Dustin?
Oh, it was just like, a lot of like Eastern like medicine knew what like lymph systems and how they, worked with the circulatory system and stuff like that before Western medicine did. They were kind of, they called it other stuff and had more like a spiritual kind of like take on it. But yeah, I've always thought there's like a bunch of intersectional science with the art of Eastern medicine.
I was going to go to traditional Chinese medicine school, but it just didn't work out for me. I enjoy orthopedic surgery, and it didn't make financial sense to go back and pay for that training again. But I was going to do it just because I was interested in it.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
What's cool is now we've got the history of human information in like the palm of our hand, so you can study.
That's wicked.
Yeah, you can study anything you want. It's like
you can literally know anything as long as you know whether what you're learning is real or not real, and whether it's from a valid source. And if you know enough about it, you'll know if it is.
And someday both of those things will be the same.
I saw it on YouTube. Right. It must be true. It's real,
Yeah.
Curtis, you sounded like you were about to interject with something a second ago.
I think I was, but I don't remember what.
Yeah.
What that was.
Well, speaking of chi, talking about Tai Chi and stuff, let's jump into the movie. I know you saw it, Brett. Did you see it, Dustin?
I didn't get to see it, man.
All right.
I'm gonna have to take your word for it.
You'll have to take my word for it.
Or maybe I'll take Curtis's word for it.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see who's got a more valid and compelling argument.
We've got the Tai Chi poster right there, guys. Tai Chi, Shang-Chi poster. It's actually Shang-Chi poster. Shang-Chi broke all kinds of Labor Day sales records. And look, Bob Ross is back.
It was wonderful.
It was a happy little movie. It broke all kinds of. It really cracks me up the way people market things. They're like the breaking all Labor Day records. I'm like, if you look, they never release anything good on Labor Day.
Previously held by Mighty Ducks 3.
Even smashed the records pre-pandemic. Like even in normal times, it smashed those records. I'm like, yeah, nobody ever releases anything on a Labor Day.
Except,
everybody's barbecuing, except like Halloween or something. Yeah. I think it'd come out.
September is known as a dump month for movies. They it's just nobody's going to the movies during that time, so they're just like, just release it in September.
Yeah,
literally.
It cracked me up. I love Marvel movies. I always have a great time. Even what are considered the worst of the Marvel movies are better than any Netflix movie. You know what I mean? I'm happy. I'd rather watch a Marvel movie than go to Subway, Curtis. It's like I always have a good time. And
Come on.
Even if Jared was there.
Especially if Jared was there. He's into some weird stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed Shang-Chi.
Let's let Brett go first, since we kind of know where we stand on it.
Yeah, so I went to see Shang-Chi with my boys in the XP theater and everything, and it was awesome. I liked it for what it was, a traditional and also mystic philosophical expression, and it was also just like over the top superhero power. to the Ten Rings and what they could do. I mean, the Ten Rings let his dad live for 1,000 years and just had, overwhelming power. The question would be, and this will come in a future one, I guess, is, the Ten Rings versus other superheroes.
Yes.
But I dug it for what it was. There was a lot of really cool mystic, stuff, and the fighting. I liked the fighting. The fighting was good.
From
He
what
was a
I
good
saw from
fighter.
the trailer, it looked like great cuts and great slow mo and like the kind of
Yeah, you have to. It's
utilization of everything.
Bruce Lee, would say that he couldn't do his fighting and his moves on film the way that he does them, and even the Shaw Brothers and everything. And I was watching Shaw Brothers, and I was wondering, why did they go ho 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 ho? Do you know why? Because they're pausing to show you the move, because you won't perceive it. If they just did it the way they do it, you just see a flip and someone hits the ground. What is that? But they're like pausing, showing you the moves so you can see them tick tock, tick tock.
It's like when I do this to Clint, and I'm like, wow.
You were kind of saying that about Ip Man, weren't you, earlier?
Yeah, same thing. It's a martial arts movie thing. They have to slow it down and pause it. So then comes the cinematography versus the art of how can you show the power and the form of it like almost real time. And I guess that would be what you said, Dustin, slowing it down, slow it down. And now you could do it real time and, show us, mess with time space continuum to make it all work out so that we can perceive what they're actually doing.
That's all. Curtis, what you want to talk about?
Counterpoint.
No, you go ahead.
Take?
Go ahead.
There was another thing I liked about it. And that is the comic relief of his life friend,
Aquafina.
That lady.
Yeah.
She was hilarious. I mean, very well placed, and she was great.
Yeah, Aquafina is great. She's a rapper too. She's been in a lot of movies, but she's a rapper and has some pretty funny songs. She's kind of I've seen her in some interviews, and she's a pretty funny personality. She's got a good character.
Yeah, you could definitely hang out with her.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Well, all right, Curtis. Now,
what you got, Curtis?
We'll all chime in. Curtis,
Wait, no.
CB3 review.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay. So I really wanted to like this movie. I mean, I was excited for it. But I'm dead serious. I literally had to work. Bob's very interested in my opinion.
Just combing his hair.
I literally had to work to stay awake during this film. Besides the action scenes,
Really?
the middle to me dragged a lot, and otherwise it was the action was good. After watching a bunch of like Ip Man and Undisputed and stuff, maybe that might have spoiled me a little bit because I mean some of it I was hoping for more, but it they kicked in the CGI Marvel stuff, which is kind of expected, but besides, I mean, to me the middle was just so boring. I was trying to stay awake, and otherwise it was like a mess. It was almost like they were thinking of at least three different films, and we're like, well, we don't know if we can make three of them, so let's put it all into one movie. I mean, it was like a crime drama, mob and terrorist stuff. It was like an action film. The fantasy stuff comes out of nowhere, and honestly, I didn't like the Mandarin in it either. The Trevor Slattery. A lot of the stuff, it just didn't hit for me. And
Ben Kingsley.
I mean, I love Ben Kingsley, but it didn't work for me. Like you were saying earlier, like I'll go see pretty much any Marvel movie, but I would say this is the worst for me so far.
Maybe that was in Ben Kingsley's contract, though. Maybe he's supposed to get a
Right,
tie-in
yeah.
to 5 Marvel movies, and and that was his tie-in. That was his contract loop. I thought he was another interesting comic relief character. I mean, and I kept waiting for him to turn on him. Like he
Yeah,
was a
me too.
plant. He was a plant, and he was going to turn on them and just backstab them, and it never happened in this episode.
Yeah, he was just just kind of like.
How do you trust him? And I really liked it whenever the little puff animal comes up to him and he's like, oh no, he's dead. I was like, he's acting, man. I'm acting. This is my survival skill in combat.
I thought he was awesome. Okay, my turn. Here we go. Boom, Clint review. Hey, look, Bob's back, man. Bob just keeps coming and coming. There he is. I enjoyed it. It's like it has a 98% audience score. Like
It hasn't been out a week yet, dude. Just
I know.
wait.
Hold on, I'm
Numbers
not
don't
done,
lie,
dude.
Curtis.
I'm just saying that out of 5,000 verified people, if you clicked unverified, it goes up to 10,000 people, and it's a 96%. But either way, it's pretty good. That doesn't mean that I need to agree with that. You know what I mean? It just means that's the audience score. What that can also mean is that we've had so many half-assed movies come out because of the pandemic, and everyone is afraid to release good movies because they don't want to lose money on these movies, that people are like, finally, we have something solid with an interesting story that's well put together. And I thought that's what it was. Is it as good as Endgame? No, it's not as good as Endgame, but it kind of was in a weird way because it introduced characters that I was not familiar with, and I got to see something cool and different. And I don't know, I liked the whole ride. In the middle, even boring, what you would call boring stuff, like I liked that because they're world building. This is a new thing with new realms and new things that we hadn't seen in other Marvel stuff. If you hadn't read the comics, you don't know anything. So you got to figure. They got to tell you. When they still didn't, but they got to tell you where. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert, guys! We're talking about Shang-Chi. If you haven't seen it, turn the show off and go to the movies, and we'll talk to you later. But
I don't think we're going to majorly spoil it, but there
but I'm
might slip
saying,
out.
like, you still, it's still a mystery where the rings came from and what they do. But they have to explain this whole world, so you can't just have everybody show up and just start like completely kicking ass and then not take a second to tell the story. And I liked how in the beginning it kind of had a Rumble in the Bronx feel, had some Jackie Chan bus action and all that. And then they go over and they make their way back to the home, and you see the lair where everybody's training in the compound, and then they have to take you to where the mom's from. And then one of my favorite parts of this movie is when Tony Leung, who's the real Mandarin, goes over and is trying to get into this realm and ends up fighting with this lady, and he thinks he's all tough because he's got the rings, and this lady takes him to school, and then they ain't falling in love. You know what I mean?
It's beautiful.
And it's a beautiful fight, and that's where all of a sudden you start getting the wire work and like the cool wuxia kind of stuff, and I was like, this is cool. It was really like graceful, fight scene. What were you gonna say, Brett?
And just the energy of redirection of Tai Chi in that scene, and the way that that his future wife, who was his foe, just redirected everything he did and was able to control the rings through that. It was awesome.
And it was also,
and he was blown away. He was blown away. You could see that in his soul, he was like, "This woman is so powerful," and he was not angry.
Yeah, he was enchanted by it. It was cool, and it was also
he was defeated by it.
Yeah, and it was cool too. Like later on, when her sister, starts teaching Shang-Chi, and there's a similar feel. All of a sudden, it's like it starts getting into the Tai Chi stuff and redirecting energy and all that. And that's where it was in the fantasy realm, and that's when it got really fun for me, and I really liked it. But the thing that like about this movie that I think people are going to want to go see Shang-Chi go and immediately be kicking ass and doing all this stuff. I feel like this movie should have been called The Mandarin. and not Shang-Chi, because this movie was not about Shang-Chi. It was about his dad, and it's like he's a guy who finds a power. The power corrupts him. He turns into a really terrible person, and then he finds love, and it completely changes him, and he decides to be a better man because he
Darth
falls
Vader
in love.
much?
Yes, it's exactly what I was going to say. It's a Darth Vader story, and then he and then he and then he ends up trying to be a better person because it puts the rings away, and he's changed, and then dark things from his past come back and end up hurting the one he loves and kills her, and he loses it, and then he gets so consumed with the dark side because of his loss of this that he turns back into like a bad guy, and the bad force comes out, and then he ignores his family. He starts getting delusional and obsessed, and then he's obsessed with trying to bring her back, and then he gets corrupted and fooled, and his family tries to warn him, hey, you're screwing up, this isn't wrong, this isn't going to work. He doesn't listen to his family, and ultimately brings an evil force into the world, and at the very last second his son reaches out, and he could have gotten defeated by his son, and then he sees that his son isn't trying to hurt him and means well, and then all of a sudden he sees that he's about to face death, and he passes his power on to his son, redeeming himself at the very end like Darth Vader right before he dies, and passes that on, and now and the other thing, Shang-Chi has been trained by assassins and whatnot. That's half of who he is. That's half of why he can fight. But also the other half, it comes from a mystical bloodline and of people that have that can practice and harness their chi and do all kinds of cool, super amazing things, practicing martial arts that have been passed down from the gods. And so he has to accept who he is on both sides, and that's where he kind of comes into his own, and it wraps everything up with a nice bow. And now we have Shang-Chi is in a point where he can be a badass because now he has the powers and the ability to control his chi, and now he's can go off and help the Avengers or do whatever he's going to end up doing and move on and maybe have another Shang-Chi movie. But like overall, it was a ride, and you had to do a lot of story building and world building and to get it there. And so maybe it was like that. But I could tell you when I saw The Green Knight the other day, I was super tired. And I was like falling asleep, and I just wanted that movie to be over. You know what I mean? And so I don't know if you were tired, Curtis, or if it's just because you saw a bunch of badass
Michael Jai White wiping the floor with people.
Donnie Yen kicking ass. Like you're getting like
Scott Adkins.
You get like it's Scott Adkins. You're getting like super concentrated martial arts, and you're like, all I want to do is watch that. And then like, sorry, dude, you gotta have some storytelling with your apple pie. You can't just have apple pie.
You know, it's more powerful than mystical chi. How unimpressed Curtis is. Is like absolute. The power is just like radiating,
and it's subjective. You know what I mean? Like everybody has different opinions about. I don't think Curtis is completely a dummy for not enjoying this movie.
Well, okay. Let's.
So
I
just
Let's
I enjoyed
unpack it. Let's unpack it.
Again,
Curtis.
I wouldn't give this an A+ if I had just seen Endgame for the first time last week. I'd be like, oh, this is pretty good. It's a B+. You know what I mean? But because I haven't seen a lot of kick-ass movies lately, I could just tell you I really want to see it for the second time, because when I saw The Suicide Squad in the theater, I didn't like it that much. I was like, C+. And then I watched it again 2 days later at home, and I loved it. So it's weird. It's weird how we can do that. And so I'm curious to see what and I'll let you know next week what my feelings are, because I'm gonna go see Shang-Chi again this week. Okay, I'm done. Go ahead.
Well, so first of all, it was 2 hours and 15 minutes for. I mean, that's a long Marvel movie. Now, of course, Endgame's way longer. We can go into that, but. So at the same time, like there were plot elements too that really bothered me. We know, like, he gets to the Forbidden City or whatever. He basically dates the mom there, so he can get there because he goes back and forth at least several times. So why does he need these pendants to figure out how to get to a place that he's already been several times?
He got there. He got there by mistake one time, and then after that, she left with him.
No. He went back at least 3 times because then remember he goes back, he brings her lunch and all this other stuff. Like they basically dated outside of the little city.
Maybe she gave him directions.
Well, then he doesn't need the pendants.
Maybe
The first
she
time
was
was
first
an
time-
breadcrumbs.
The first time he got through the traveling maze by accident. So they were going through the ever-changing maze, and the car crashed and went over a cliff. He fell out of the car. Everybody else died, but he happened to be somewhere near the gate. By accident, the security system failed, and he got to talk to her. And he must have charmed her a bit then because she allowed him to come back.
Mhm.
He never made it through the gate to the city.
No, he didn't. No,
she-
but he got.
But he didn't have the ability to navigate to that point. I think she let him in the other
Well,
times.
you could say that, except that he's got that little muffin with wings that Trevor Slattery has, which is how Shang-Chi and them get there. He's got this thing the whole time.
Yeah.
Why didn't he just
Yeah,
use
but-
that to get there?
Why didn't I guess the muffin didn't want to tell him.
I mean,
That's
he could-
convenient.
He doesn't
Muffin
speak.
Man.
He doesn't speak muffin.
Yeah, that's convenient, Muffin
Well-
Man.
well,
Yeah,
I mean,
how did
Muffin Man.
I mean, how did the actor learn how to speak muffin, and the dude who's 1,000 years old couldn't speak
Right.
muffin?
That's an
He
excellent
probably
question.
could speak. He could probably speak every language on the planet, major language, fluently, and understand all of the elements of different languages, and learn a new language pretty quickly with that kind of experience in linguistics.
Sounds like all he needed to know was the language of love to get into that city, to get into her
Well,
golden
that's-
gate.
And that's what.
city
That's
to
how I
the
think
real
he got there.
Muffin. I haven't seen the movie, but I imagine that's what it's about.
And besides that, like I do think so. I think it's going to be a good. I imagine the second one or the sequels, if there are some, and Shang-Chi's inclusion being better. But like honestly, kind of like you pointed out, this should have been called the Mandarin. You know, we didn't get a lot of him as a character. Like honestly, I don't know who he is as a character yet. And like who he was represented as a character didn't make much sense. If you're trained to be an assassin from 6, this should be a dark, brooding character coming to terms
Yeah.
with certain things instead of just like, "Hey, what's up? You want to fight? Ha ha ha!" You know,
Kind of like
That
how the
didn't-
Taskmaster
Well,
is.
he was. He kind of tried to completely reinvent himself and didn't even reveal that he knew how to fight. It happened because he got attacked. He
Yeah.
did it in self-defense.
Right.
And they're like, "Who the hell are you? You're my. I've known you for years, and like I didn't know you could do anything like that." And
well, that's fair, but I mean, it should have to me that should have been, and that of course that could just be personal opinion, but it should have been more of an arc for him to do that stuff. And then the fact that basically Aquafina saved the world, he didn't like really bother
That
me.
should be really Shang-Chi too. Should just be Aquafina with the 10 rings, just like Lady Thor. Just do it all. Just do it. Just take it, Marvel.
dude, that's just we get by with
That's a what if. Is that a what if? Is that thing where you have a different storyline?
Yeah.
Someone else. Yeah.
I
That's
get
probably
by
coming.
with I get by with a little help from my friends, man. It was
That's right.
it was a group effort.
But no, she saved
I
the
think-
world. Like
His-
she
he-
killed the dragon.
Big deal. I mean,
That's
Howard
okay.
the Duck saved the world too. I mean, I'm not gonna like.
Right,
So
but
it turns
the,
out-
name- the-
it
the
turn-
name of the movie was Howard the Duck, not Aquafina.
But he also
I mean, but it turns out in his backstory there that he was trained to be an assassin, and not only was he trained to, when his dad gave him the knife, he did go and kill the guy that killed his mom.
And I'm glad.
And then, but he has his mom in him, right? And that did not sit well with him. And he was like, and he did not like the path of being a killer. So he's like, I'm leaving this. I have to get away from it. This just doesn't feel right, because
On it,
in his heart, he wasn't really evil and dark.
But maybe
Honestly,
Curtis
so-
feels like he didn't really make the hero's journey. Is that what you're trying to say, Curtis? That he
to a
didn't
degree,
really-
yeah. But and honestly, Brett, that kind of bugged me a little bit. Like, if they had sent him out on a mission to kill like somebody else or something like that, then that's different.
Right.
But like this, they killed your mom, dude. Whenever
Right.
whenever he admitted like, I actually did kill him, I was in the theater and I was like, good, like go kill that
Right.
motherfucker.
Sounds like he was
that killed
cooler
your-
than
like,
Snake Eyes.
I know Clint would, no question.
yeah, you don't mess with my mom.
Clint loves his mom. She's
Yeah.
sweet.
I was actually surprised that he said that. I thought he was going to be like, yeah, he wanted me to do this, and I was gonna, and then I got there and I pushed out, so I left or something. I mean, I thought he didn't do it, but apparently, he did. And I thought that was kind of weird, because I feel like there would have to be some kind of justice for that. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, not necessarily. I mean, assassinations happen all the time, all over the world, and people don't get caught that are professionals. They do it hundreds of times, and that's.
And all
But
kinds
maybe,
of honor killings.
but maybe Curtis, it goes like this: he trained all those years with the idea that he would kill the person that killed his mom, and he did, and he didn't want to kill anyone else. That's the
That
only
would have
person
been better,
he really
Brett.
wanted
That
to
would have
kill.
been better. That would have been such a better story to me. Like you're right. That would have been spectacular,
what is
but it
this
was not
Marvel-
expressed that way.
This Marvel
they just-
Mad
I
Libs,
think
we
they
have to
wanted-
fill in the blanks for him.
I think they wanted to express like the whole concept of from zero to hero, that he was just the biggest slacker that he could possibly be, which would resonate that he took this existence as happiness for him. He found something he could do, and anything, and so he was he could have, with the skill set he had, done a lot more right than just parking cars, but he was happy with that, and so he's not really striving. Listen, his dad owns an empire that would have the financial value of, he would be a multi-billionaire, which you could never hide from a guy like that anyway. But apparently, and he wasn't. But
that was cool that he knew the whole time. He's like, I was giving you 10
Of course he
years.
knew.
Yeah.
of course, he knew where he was. But he could have anything he wanted, and he could run any business he wanted. He could do technically anything. He could go to any school. He could be anything, but he chose, to try to just disappear as much into mediocrity as he could.
It's like
So
a kung
because
fu.
ultimately, I think he didn't want to go down the path that awaited him, probably.
Well, and again, like, you're expressing it better than the film did. I agree with you, but to me, the film
I
did
wanna see
not
the Brett
express it
script.
in that. Yeah, like in that way. Like, if they had done that, you're expressing more of a character arc to me than they showed in the whole film. And like, again, it wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen in the history of the world. I mean, to me, it was probably like the worst Marvel movie. But yeah, if they would have expressed, basically what Brett's saying, like, I would have been much more on board. But they, cut in for jokes and stuff, and some of the jokes I like.
The jokes
as well.
were good, though. There were some damn good jokes.
There were.
There were. Yeah.
And so I'm going to take this back to the haunted house. So I run a haunted house, a Creepy Hollow haunted house, the scariest in Texas. It's an awesome haunted house here in Rocheron, Texas. So, in the haunted house, obviously we scare people, but ultimately we're entertaining people. Okay. So after you get scared and there's still some interaction time, there's entertainment that happens there. It could be humor. It could be other things that are entertaining. But ultimately, even though the function is scare, there's entertainment. And so, you have to take the pauses in life to receive the entertainment, and throwing those jokes in there also is a palate cleanser, right? So just like in Lethal Weapon, you remember in Lethal Weapon where he started joking with those guys and telling jokes and getting kind of clowny and being funny, and he pulled them off their axis of I'm all amped up and I got my adrenaline up, and when he pulled them off their axis, then he flipped on them and took them down. So in the same way, I think that the comedy is a really important palate cleanser to help clear your brain for the action and the drama and all of that. It's a nice balance.
I agree with that, but it just and it's not just the comedy, but a lot. It was so much at once that got in the way of the story. It's really like they did 3 different movies, and obviously some people think they did it well. I just don't. Like, it seemed like a mess to me. Like, it was several different storylines going and all this stuff, and I couldn't make it mesh for me.
It's okay if you didn't get it, man. Like some people just just watch it
You
again,
know what?
man.
I'm one of those. I'm one of
I
those
like-
spoiled people that wants a story from a movie.
Dude.
I'm sorry.
You like took your glasses off too, like a news commentator that can't take any of this. That won't, you're just incensed. You just like whipped your glasses off when you're like about to get serious on this.
That's so I could go like this.
Yeah.
So do you believe this is the worst Marvel movie? Like worst
On the first watch, yes.
Worst Marvel movie is
I'm
the
gonna
first Hulk
I'm
with
I'm
Banner.
definitely gonna rewatch it.
worse than Thor, that one Thor Dark World
Oh,
or
yeah.
what?
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
I like Dark World.
That's a
Oh,
good
I
one.
like Dark World. That was a good one.
Yeah, fuck you, Clint.
Was that
It is one of the
One of
lowest-
the Thors was
it is
pretty
one of the
weak.
lowest
Bob
rated.
Ross back
Yeah.
up here. He's going to whip your
It's-
ass.
it's one
That's
of
the
the
one you
lowest-
think is weak, but it's not.
It's one of the
Anything
lowest
where
rated,
Loki
Clint.
gets to embrace his evil, it's got to be
Yeah.
good.
And whenever his mom dies and Loki's faking like he doesn't
Yeah.
care, and then all of a sudden he's
Yeah,
like, he shows the real face, and he's like, fucking just wrecked his room and everything. Rewatch it, Clint.
Shit wouldn't mean anything for that
it's
Loki
definitely-
series if there wasn't Thor Dark World
Yeah,
or
that's
the
true.
Tesseract or anything like that. All that shit.
Worse.
But
The
it just,
Bannon and Nick Nolte Hulk is the fucking worst.
but that's not MCU.
That's not MCU?
That is, yeah, that doesn't count.
I don't know.
No, it's
With the
not.
with the multiverse-
Ed Norton is the first one.
canon.
With the multiverse, it might end up becoming so.
Yeah.
But like on the first watch, I
Bring
would
Bannon back.
say that I'm definitely gonna rewatch it. I'll probably buy it. I mean, I own all the other ones. I'm gonna buy it. Like they're gonna get my money. They already did. I'm part of that 83 million or whatever you put up there. It's just, yeah, it really didn't do it for me. And I had such high hopes. It probably should have been more than one movie because even at 2 hours and 15 minutes, like my son enjoyed it all the way through. He's 6.
Ah, cool.
So let's see how many movies we can get out of it, right? So we know it's a romance movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interdimensional travel, martial arts. It's a comedy. It's a story about
a crime drama.
a crime drama. It's a
Wuxia.
it's wushu. It's about not wanting to face who you are and what you are. So that kind of emotional internal
Like a
torment
Coming of age
that
story. Yeah.
occurs, like a
Kind of like
coming of
Oliver.
age. What else? There's other stories here. Like you said, there's the mob angle of
Mhm.
his dad. There's the ultimate power of
Mhm.
that
Power
his
crunch.
dad had, and that his
And
dad's
love and
organization
loss.
had.
The
Even if
other-
his dad did not have the 10 rings, what his
Right.
dad amassed with the 10 rings was ultimate power enough. And he would not need to walk into a cafe and blast those rings around. All he would need to say is, those
Exactly.
people are unpleasant. And he would need to say nothing else. And a team of people would go in and wipe them slick with as much money as he had.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's almost
what-
a buddy cop movie, almost like you know.
And so how do you blend all of those into a whirl, like 10 rings flying through the air and redirecting them all into a mix until they flow into a circle and gel and control them and then shoot them back out? It's called Shang-Chi. They did it.
Ah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and
They did it. They just didn't do it well.
Clint, do you think it would pull it all together if there's a companion TV series that like came after this?
I
that,
would
like,
love it if
broke
they
it
had
out
if they had it.
episodically.
I would love it if they had a Shang-Chi series. I think he's going to be in the next Avengers. There'll be an Avengers 5. He's going to be.
Well, yeah.
I
Yeah,
hope
absolutely.
they do the Secret Avengers. I really
And,
do.
They just
Dude,
inducted him.
Yeah,
Against like
basically.
Thunderbolts.
He let
That would be
them
awesome.
look at his rings. They just inducted him.
Yeah, and the other thing that was interesting is that when Mandarin had the 10 rings, they were glowing blue, and when Shang-Chi did, they
Right.
glowed the
Yellow or
goldish yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the
Well, because he had the heart of the dragon, right?
Yeah,
That's
and
where you were going with it.
Well, I was gonna say like the Eternals magic. Like they do a lot of that in the MCU, where there's certain kinds of magic that
Yeah.
like
Well,
Wanda
he
Wanda
had-
has a certain chaos magic.
Like
They,
a
do-
brand.
they make
Right.
it that
Brand of
color.
just like lightsabers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just like lightsabers. But that's which kyber crystal you have, so that's a different thing.
Yeah. Gotta make it
But
believe.
yeah, no, he had his mom told him from the time that he was a small child that you have the heart of the dragon inside you and you will always be okay. He didn't know what it meant, but he already carried the power of the heart of the dragon in him, and she actually trained him when he was young. You know, she had her hands on his hands, putting him through it all. And he went to train with the ant and said, "Show me what mom did." And all of a sudden, like, it opened in his mind everything his mom had showed him, and that it was there. But you could see that golden energy was the energy of the golden dragon that slept and that was awakened, that was fighting against the evil. That's what the gold was.
The protector, or I can't remember what they called it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
His dad did not have that. So that's that. So like you say, so he's got the ancient power of the gods, golden energy, fused with the rings, which takes the rings to a level they weren't even at. He could do more than his dad ever could with them.
Yeah, and that's why Wong was like, dude, I could feel that we could feel that the energy blast from another
The first time, yeah.
Yeah, when he finally, I think it's when he exploded the dragon, the bad one. You know what I mean? He
Yeah, right.
I think the force from that. Pretty
Well,
cool.
Clint, you basically just came up with something new to talk about on small screen as well. The 10
gold-
rings. The 10 rings they talk about, they're like, we don't know where they came from. We don't know how old they are. I bet they came from the Eternals.
Yeah, bitches.
That's it.
You got the touch.
That's the thing, and they're super old, and they said that the glyphs on the rings were ancient. They've never
Unknown
seen
or-
anything
yeah.
like that, and then
That's that new thing right now, the Eternals.
Yeah,
it comes out
They
in
They
November.
probably-
Yeah.
fight
all 10 of
dwarfs or
those
something.
all 10 of those rings probably fell off of Angelina Jolie's witchy hands.
and well, that's the thing. She's Angelina Jolie. I think is a character that makes weapons.
Yeah.
And they're like, maybe she made them. And Captain Marvel said, I've never seen it. I don't think that's like Chitauri or anything. And then Bruce Banner says that they're not vibranium, and so it's like it's weird. Who knows what they are? It's also interesting that
Galactus shows up. Where are my rings?
that's
at?
that's the other thing that people were talking about. It's also weird that Bruce Banner is not Professor Hulk. He's in human form, and he's got an
Right.
injured arm. So like, what happened there? Why is he back to normal? It's weird.
Yeah, I want to see that story.
Yeah.
Also, it kind of bugged me too as a comic book fan. Like, so I didn't know that much about Shang-Chi, so I went back and looked at it. But they definitely ripped off a ton. They basically ripped off Iron Fist's story for Shang-Chi, like the whole hidden city and stuff. That's an Iron
Yeah.
Fist thing. The Heart of a Dragon. That's Iron Fist
Yeah.
stuff. So they're either writing Iron Fist out.
I hope not.
Some people are saying they might reintroduce him, but it seems like they're just combining Iron Fist / Shang-Chi into one character and running with that, because like half of that like was an Iron Fist storyline, and that they just ripped off like and ignored the series, I guess.
They were just
I
trying
mean,
to.
if you have a mystic martial arts superhero, the odds are that they came from some type of hidden retreat of knowledge. That's going to be a similar story arc for any character like that, probably of true, genuine lineage and power, right? So I studied one time with a guy named Master Sunyata Saraswati, and he taught a lot of things, but he studied in Tibet, doing a lot of meditation, and he put me through a meditation one time where we had to say a mantra each time we would take a step. And we stepped like 1,000 steps through the forest before we came around this campfire. And then he put us through this spiraling energy in this meditation, and my head opened up. This is a real story. I usually don't tell people, so believe it or not, but this happened. So my head opens up, and a vortex comes out of the top of my head, and I'm floating in lotus position over my body. And I look down, and I can see my body, and I look around the circle, and I can see all of the other students, around the circle, and I see Master Sunyata in the center of the circle, and I'm like, I'm going to go check out the universe. So I go to take a step, like I'm going to just go fly off and check it out. sitting in the center of the circle, he looks up at me and he says, "Come back now." And I'm sucked back down into the top of my head.
That's
Now
kind of
this
like
is a real experience that I had, and I know that if I spent more time with him, that I would have been, or if I followed that path even of what he had taught me, that I would be able to, spend more time in astral projection, exploring the universe, which is, stuff that it just, if you're not there, you can't really believe it. So people don't have to believe it, but I'm telling you, he learned all this in a temple in Tibet that was isolated, and that's kind of where these things live, is in esoteric kind of far off places like that and they also live right next door to you because
That's cool, man.
because they're out there now, and especially with the internet and everything. But
That's
There's a lot of, it's so weird because what we do and don't know about the universe, things like that. You hear a lot of people, like, I wonder if it's like doing certain things that you open up your pineal gland, your third eye, and you start,
Right.
and some people take peyote or psilocybin mushrooms, and other people they're meditating and doing breathing just right, whatever it is that gets you tapped into that. But it's pretty crazy,
The U.S. military actually at one point was studying these things, trying to weaponize
remote
them,
viewing.
but the people that actually have those skill sets, probably were not wanting to come forth and share their information with the U.S. military for weaponization. They would like to keep not do that, but it's pretty legit stuff.
The Kundalini, like people that do the deep Kundalini thing, that's like the mantras and the breathing and stuff like that. They
Sure.
think that they probably access the natural occurring DMT in the body that that ayahuasca accesses, and the other chemical that works with ayahuasca and DMT, where it's like you go to the machine elf or have some kind of like astral experience. They say people that are really, really good at it can get small access like to that kind of stuff. And I imagine if this guy was a master at it, he could access it anytime he wanted to. It's really interesting.
What do you think, Curtis?
It sounds very interesting, but I am a materialist / skeptic, so I believe
You should be, and
so
I
it's
would
very, very
would
cool,
never
and I would
believe
love to
that
hear
unless
more.
I experienced it.
I wish I could experience something like that, but yes, when it comes to most things in life, I'm a materialist and a skeptic. So
I'll get you some mushrooms, Curtis.
no, thank you.
Yeah, I've never done anything like that, but the only thing I've even been remotely interested in at all is like DMT. The old.
Explain that, Dustin. Explain.
So I've never done any drugs. At
No,
all,
but DMT. What is?
But DMT is like dimethyltryptamine, I think, tryptamine, and it's a molecular structure that I think they happened upon in the 40s, and it naturally occurs in just about everything, and especially in like grass and things plants that grow, and it occurs in people's body too. But we have enzymes that will metabolize the drug part of it and like basically nullify its effects of the kind of tripping effects. So the whole idea of like ayahuasca, to my understanding of what I've listened to and read, the ayahuasca is like a two-part. One that has the DMT kind of in it, like impregnated in it, and another psychoreactive element that helps kind of block that enzyme. And it takes a long time, and you actually have to throw up, and I think it like does something to you when you throw it up, that's when it actually has the reaction, because it kind of gets into your the digestion of it with that enzyme, and when you're throwing up, that's when it goes through your mucous membranes at that point in time. That's my understanding, and I don't do drugs, so it's
And
kind of like a celibate person that's never had sex explaining sex to somebody.
And-
Boobs, they're kind of like sandbags, right?
Yeah, and then you trip balls basically. But
Yeah.
yeah, you see all kinds of stuff. And I have a friend who's kind of he's like, yeah, dude, I don't like to drink chlorinated water because the chlorine in the tap water will
Don't drink chlorinated water.
Yeah, he's like the chlorine will calcify your pineal gland, and it blocks your ability to tune into the universe, and talks about a bunch of stuff. But ayahuasca is one of them. And yeah, this guy's done peyote and mushrooms and stuff. But he's got some crazy interesting stories where he's like, dude, like it sounds weird, but I've seen some crazy stuff. And once you experience it, then you're like, it's not like, oh, I chugged a bottle of Robitussin and I saw a bunch of colors and then I, woke up with a headache. It's like, no, dude, it's like going someplace that you once you've been there, you're like, I was there. You know what I mean? So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty cool.
And who's
pretty
to
interesting,
say,
but
who's to say whether or not, like Brett says, that the kind of barriers between dimensions isn't just a thin veil? Like, even as a materialist, certainly there's got to be, and a physicist, certainly there's got to be other experiences or extrasensory things out there, light spectrums that we can't really process. Perhaps, I'm saying perhaps, I'm theorizing again, I've never done drugs, that is all around us all the time. We just take this substance and all of a sudden we can see all these spectrums and take in all these senses that we can't access, like a pinworm can't access what we can access.
Have you ever heard of Edgar Casey?
Yep.
Yes.
Edgar Casey, he was a psychic healer. He was on the East Coast when I was stationed out there in Virginia, and Edgar Casey would go into a self-hypnotic state. And when he did, he would access the superconscious plane. The superconscious plane is a plane at which, theoretically, we're all connected. Okay, and I have felt this connection myself. But while he was in the superconscious plane, he would give a reading as the superconscious plane portion of him.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't him; it was another part of him. To people that had questions that couldn't be answered by modern medicine, like how to fix psoriasis or these other problems that they couldn't get solutions for. He's got like 24,000 readings in his library, and it's a pretty cool place in Virginia Beach if you ever get a chance to go there. Now, I've experienced connection with the superconscious plane, and if you think about it, this is how we have a perception that's a connection, is as how are we connected? Because at one time I was hadn't talked to a friend of mine for 6 months. I hadn't talked to her for 6 months, and all of a sudden I got a feeling like, oh my God, I haven't talked to this person, but I'm worried about them. I seriously am worried about them, and I need to. And somehow I called them, or they called me, and she was about to commit suicide.
wow,
And
Something was compelling you.
There was an energy that was put out in the universe. There was a powerful enough pulse through the superconscious plane that it knocked me in the head, because I'm usually fairly dense, and woke me up. And if you think about it in your life, you've probably experienced this superconscious connection with other people, and we didn't know how it happened or how we did it, but there is a connection there.
And Curtis, I'm between you guys. I'm fairly skeptical, but I'm also open to the idea, and the way I've thought about it before, and just, you're a pretty, like, pragmatic and have some stoic aspects where you're like pragmatic about science. I've thought about, what if there's some kind of human dormant thing that we haven't tapped into, kind of like the experiment where if one rat or a group of rats learns something in another location, all of a sudden the rats can do it far away. There's been a couple of experiments with that, with rats and with pigeons, and where it's like a species learning thing. I can't quite remember what the experiment's called anymore, but it was like in the 80s and 90s where they like checked it out. And I'm like often wonder if, like, I don't think that was one mammal and one bird species or whatever that they did that on, but I've often wondered if there's some kind of latent, dormant, almost
Sure.
like kind of Marconi / Tesla frequency that, I'm picking up. That gets a little woohoo, but I'm still like, if
You're not wrong
it's something
about
that can be observed in nature, and also sort of the way birds fly, where they're sort of like know spatially where each other are, and it's like a sort of magnetic fields
connection.
and stuff that helps them do that.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So-
I'd like to believe all that stuff.
You're a science man.
And string
Yeah,
theory
yeah,
gets
you
us a
know,
little closer, Curtis.
No,
If
I'm
you
a
string
science
theory
man
is
as well.
Step out.
garbage.
If you step out
String
onto
theory
the
is trash.
if you step
String
out-
theory is not
if you step out
acceptable.
onto the
Physics,
thin ice with me, Curtis, I will
Just-
show you.
String theory is not physics. It is mathematics. Okay, physics
Yeah.
relies on provable
Yeah.
or falsifiable fact evidence. String theory is 30, 40 years old, and there has been zero evidence of string theory. It's great. It makes for awesome
Sounds
movies.
cool.
But yeah, there is no evidence of
Are
string
you
theory.
trying to tell me I
period.
can't throw a pair of socks through a dryer and like all of the atoms in the socks diffuse and wind up somewhere on the other side of the universe? Are you about to break that bubble for me?
That's how aliens get here when they visit. There's a.
Maybe.
You think
but
they physically drive
There's
all
no
that way?
evidence
No
of
way.
it yet.
They appear.
Yeah. My degree is in science. My everyday life is in science. In fact, my worldview is based on science because there's no more rational way to view the world than through science. But Isaac Asimov said that like magic. I'm misquoting this now, but magic is basically a science that you don't understand, and maybe the magic of the mystic arts are a science that hasn't been interpreted yet, and we haven't found a way to actually see it. The Chinese acupuncture is based on the meridian system, but we've never actually even seen the meridian system. But won't it blow your mind someday when they figure out how to show it, if it's actually there, that they've been manipulating, all these years? And these things that we've done in martial arts for many years, now they're doing studies on, Qigong and Tai Chi and the effects of what these things do. And they're actually finding clear scientific markers and results that show the power of these things. And,
Well, don't get me
the
wrong.
reason
I absolutely think they should be studied. Like, I'm not saying that.
Sure.
They absolutely should be studied. And I would guarantee with many of those things, a lot of forgotten knowledge or ignored knowledge in the regular science is a system, just like we talked about earlier with UFC and stuff like that. The old men with their ideas you've got to get past them to get new ideas in. But at the same time, there's got to be a mechanism for it, which I can't see. And I'm not the brightest guy in the world. There might be a mechanism. You could talk about with what Dustin was saying earlier. That could be some sort of entanglement. I'm not trying to just throw stuff out there, but
It'd be
going
interesting,
on
right?
that
If it was an evolutionary thing that we no longer needed to have it because we, through whatever brain growth, didn't need a hive mind.
We've learned to ignore it because of the fact that evolutionarily it's better for individual survival. It might be one of those things as well, but not
like
group
an
survival.
intuitive sense.
Yeah,
Right.
We didn't
Like
need
an
it. We
intuitive
didn't need
sense.
the
It's another
intuition
sense.
anymore because we evolved other mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
On the same respect, one of the coolest things we all know, I had a gut feeling.
yeah.
Okay. The only other place in your body that neurons exist besides your brain is in your gut,
That's right.
and your gut is the first. They think was your first brain,
Right.
before the brain actually
And there's
evolved.
still metachlorians in there that do most of the thinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're fine.
So they did studies on rats that when they get a certain bacteriological count of the wrong bacteria, will run out of their hole and perform dangerous activity and get killed because the bacteria want the cat or the thing that's going to eat the rat to eat the rat so that they can take over the larger creature.
These
And the
damn things are
bacteria-
just memes. Just
the
trying to.
bacteria manipulates the neurochemicals of the host. We came from bacteria. If you believe all that, if you believe that there was a one-celled organism and then multi-celled organisms, and they grew into organs and grew into the whole thing that we
Right.
are now, and
And why-
we still live from the bacteria in our
couldn't
gut
we-
in symbiosis.
Yeah, why couldn't we have, even with any belief system? All these things are, a lot of them are like IKEA instructions for herd cultures. You know what I mean? They could be much more complex than are written down. These are just the codexes that we're to use to, get to the next level where we don't need these crude writings. I don't want to shit on anybody's writings if they think the writings aren't crude. I don't think they're crude either, but they're many layered, and they're not just necessarily taken on the face of it.
So, and at the same time, there is
We're a long way from Shang-Chi, boys. I'm proud of us.
this is what Shang-Chi brought us. Is at minimum you could say it's a philosophical.
You brought this on
film.
yourself, Marvel.
But so at the same time, there are innumerable, texts of human knowledge, and they all have some level of validity. I'm not saying we should go back to bleeding people and stuff like that, but at the same time, there are things that there is crossover. There are things that should be studied that aren't, because they're not currently accepted. However, at the same time, I am not going to accept them.
You're not going to bet the farm on it. I got you.
Without, I'm not going to just completely disregard them either, but I'm not going to accept them without. I have to at least see the mechanism. How is it working? How is it occurring? What's or the theory of the mechanism? Like, how do you think it's occurring? What's your explanation as to how this is happening? I have not had an experience like that. If I did, that might change my mind. However, at the same time, I think that if you're more open to stuff like that, you're more likely to see it. I mean, my wife will tell you, like, she thinks even if I saw a UFO or a ghost, I'd be like, well, let me explain that away right quick. Like that, because that's my mentality. She believes in ghosts. I do not. Like, I don't believe in ghosts. And if I saw one, she was like, you still wouldn't believe it. You would just explain it away. And I think that's absolutely right. So if you're more open to those things, then you're more likely to see those things. If you're not, you're not. Doesn't mean one's necessarily more right than the other, but we have to follow the evidence.
Maybe you just don't see the ships, Curtis. Like,
yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the Mayans looking out. Yeah. They had no concept of what that was, so it's just kind of like, looks like, the horizon.
Yeah. There's just a bunch of rocks jumping up out of the waves. Come on.
Totally. No wonder they thought they're gods. Like, holy hell. Like, all of a sudden they're on the land. They're like, oh my God, what is this?
I've seen some pretty crazy stuff flying through the air where I was like out in the country, and there was like, that shouldn't be there, but it was like, it was really weird. And I wasn't the only one who saw it, but it was almost a weird, like, it was not like a saucer. It was like it's almost like a snake kind of a thing, like sky caterpillar thing.
Like rods?
It was weird. Yeah, it was. I'm like, dude, are you seeing this? And she was like, holy crap. And we were both looking at this thing, and then it just kind of disappeared.
Man, these Zimas are really strong.
And then our friends we're like, look, and it was gone. And it was like, oh, but it was really weird. I couldn't understand what I was seeing.
Thank you, Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, is that some weird military thing? Was it aliens? But yeah,
you're like, all right, let's go get some Subway.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if like 1,000 years ago somebody came across one of these UFO items and they found 10 rings and slipped them on and they had ultimate power?
Yes,
they were like,
where could that take us?
Oh man,
just imagine
Miyamoto
in 1,000 years
only
someone
had
will
5
make
of them, and he was
someone will make a shitty movie about this.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Do you have anything more on the actual verses thing? I wanted to ask Brett a couple of martial arts questions.
Well, I have a question that's not. I have a thing about not that isn't about martial arts, but just about movies in general, but ask him some martial arts questions, man. That's
All
what he's
right.
here.
What you
He's
got?
here just to hang out,
Yeah.
and if you ask something that he wants to talk about, he will. If not, he'll be like, I don't want to talk about that,
I
Dustin.
don't want to talk about that.
By the way, I wanted to throw you props on those swords back there. Those are badass.
It's pretty bad.
Thank you. This one's live right here.
Oh, cool.
So this is the one I practice with, and then when I got good enough, then I tried practicing with this one occasionally.
Right on. Is that one of the kung fu?
Yeah, it's
Art-
a kung fu saber. So when I first learned a weapon, I like to learn it in a nerfed way that's pretty safe.
Of course.
And then once I practice it, long enough that I have skill and flow with it, then I like to do the real weapon.
Danger it up is what I call it.
Right.
Anytime you
Which
load
is-
a gun, you make it safe.
Which-
You also got to
Which
danger
relates
it up.
directly. It relates directly to my Sharp and Pointy show. The Sharp and Pointy show, where everything in the show is either sharp and or pointy. That's the second side show at the Creepy Hollow Freak Show that we
Oh, I
do
like
every
that.
Friday and Saturday night when Creepy Hollow's open. I'm a sideshow clown, so I perform in a sideshow. We got the classic sideshow, classic stuff from the sideshow. It's the first show of the night, 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock is the Sharp and Pointy show. In the Sharp and Pointy show, I'm an impalement artist, so I do knife throwing. I do rope dart with my real live, very scary, sticking heavy metal rope dart, which is why, taking that back to Shang-Chi, I dug the hell out of his sister's rope dart with the diamond, with the dragon covering and everything. So I do rope dart, and there's the sharp dart that sticks, but there's also the meteor dart that smashes, and it arguably equally or more so devastating than the sharp dart. It's heavier and smashes, but hers had one on either end. It had the smashing end, and it had the sharp sticking end.
Brett, is
and
that
then-
like the Kill Bill thing? You know what I mean? The thing
yes,
you kick
it's
out.
like
That's
except the
super
Kill
cool.
Bill, they like made up their own spinning orb of death with
Oh,
the saw blade and everything. But it's like the Kill Bill thing. Those are exactly rope dart moves, meteor dart. So
That's badass.
I dug that tremendously. But what was your question?
What is your primary martial arts that you studied, and to what level? Maybe
Oh,
every
okay.
martial
Yeah.
artist has like
Yeah,
a system
absolutely.
that they build
Absolutely.
off of, like Greco-Roman wrestling, and maybe they introduce
Sure.
kickboxing. But what was your primary martial art?
So I've studied a lot of different martial arts in my life. I started with Tang Soo Do, which is Mudak Kwan. Has two levels. There's Tang Soo Do and Taekwondo.
Mhm.
Tang Soo Do is what Chuck Norris actually studied back in the day. He's moved way past that,
Is
as
it like
a
the
lot of people.
Korean version of
It's
Kung Fu?
Korean. Yeah, it is. That's what it is.
I studied Kung Fu Wan
Tang,
when I was a kid.
similar. And so the difference between Taekwondo and Tang Soo Do is that it's traditional.
Mhm.
And so as opposed to tournament oriented. So then I studied in college, I studied judo and Ninpo Taijutsu a little bit, which is a hand-to-hand combat art of ninjutsu. And you may say, that's kind of weird, but
Lot
it's
of locks
actually,
and short movement.
it's jujitsu that is extremely violent and painful. So it's jujitsu with explosive power, pain strikes, and breaks. And so actually, jujitsu was the hand-to-hand combat art of the samurai.
Mhm.
And if you can imagine, if you touched hands with a samurai, they weren't going to play with you gently.
Mhm.
They were going to break the hell out of you. But then when they turned it into a sport, and they turned judo into a sport, because they had to for it to survive, because they were melting down all their swords, and so they
Mhm.
made it into a sport so it could survive. But hidden under the crust and the surface of that is actually like the really dark origins of explosive power. And so then I studied an art called Newaja Kung Fu. And Newaja means internal external system. So it's a synthesis of external styles and internal styles. And you learn different things at different levels. And when you get to the top level, or not the top level, when you get to the black belt level, after that, you start to form from all of these different elements your style of what works for you. So you absorb everything, and then and then you manifest what speaks to you from the system, and you go deeper into studies in those
That's
those
cool.
areas.
That's like
So
a modern art like that is like Krav Maga, like the real Israeli. There's not a real form of that. You learn the basic form, and then the actual
yeah,
instructor eventually internalizes it, and he teaches you
yeah.
like this new form of.
Right, and so there are actually definite forms, and there's a definite curriculum, and very many different throws and strikes and kicks and grappling moves, ground fighting, all of that you learn up to a certain level with the curriculum at each level. That you have to master those things to get to the next level. So what my rank in that is 5th degree black belt.
Nice.
So 4th degree is a master ranking teacher, and so 6th degree is a grandmaster. So I'm I guess kung fu master ranked.
That's awesome.
How long till you hit grandmaster?
Oh, I don't know if I ever will, but I do it for me, and I do it for my own internal gratification, and if I make it to grandmaster, then so be it.
It's part of your path.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm, what. For a long time, I didn't strive for any rank, but just for knowledge. And but in the school that I was in, they had a special black belt class, where they gave some more knowledge, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and try to get into that black belt class, and so that's why I took it to that level. But yeah, so that's Newaja, and I was gone from my school for a little bit, and when I was gone, I studied at a mixed martial arts school for a bit with one of the trainers from Team Ortiz.
Cool.
You remember that Team Ortiz? Anyway, from the Ultimate Fighter series and all that. Yeah, so I did that, which was Muay Thai and boxing. And I was supposed to do a match. Yeah, and I was supposed to do. They didn't do that much Greco-Roman. We did jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and boxing. That's what we did at our school. So I would do 2 kickbox classes and then a jiu-jitsu class, 3 in a row in a warehouse with no air conditioner. And they're like, dude, you're crazy. Why do you do 3? Nobody does 3 classes in a row. Well, I did that for years in Kung Fu, always. So, anyway, that was fun. And now I'm back at my school now, at my Kung Fu school. So I was gone for a while with the haunted house. And so I'm having to rebuild a lot of the stuff that I knew in my old brain, but I enjoy it, and it's my core. So my core is Kung Fu.
Cool, man. And the few times I've gotten to talk to you, and it's been precious few, I've really got that you're sort of like philosophically a martial artist and physically a martial artist. And I've always wanted to ask you, how does like martial arts like inform your everyday life? I mean, when you study it as much as you study it, you had to internalize
it does.
And you're in medicine too, and I bet you it helps you.
One of the greatest things that helps me in my everyday life that is that in martial arts, in our system anyway, we try to study the 5 virtues, right? Honesty, humility, sincerity, loyalty, and patience. And I could go into that with you, but each of those things, when you work on them for yourself, changes you, and it changes your interaction with other people. And so I'm glad you asked that, because I got to get back to studying those more, so I can be, try to be a better person. And that's what it really is. So Kung Fu basically means skilled person. It's the development of skills. You can be Kung at surgery. You can be Kung at scuba diving. I like to joke and say that I'm Master Baker.
Clint is pretty well Kung.
Inappropriate.
Yeah.
Dustin's Master Baker.
Yeah, Master Baker, because it's like I'm a scuba dive master, Kung Fu master. I was my kid's scout master, and I tend to like to master things, but that comes from the Kung Fu, right? So in trying to reach mastery over something and to work out the details of it all and put it all into order, when you do something else, you try to do the same thing.
Cool, man.
So
That must be a genetic thing, because I'm always trying to put things together all the time. You know what I mean? Like projects. Doesn't matter if it's a band or a record or a YouTube show or whatever. You know, I'm always working on a thing. So that's cool.
It's just a Baker thing.
It's
I
probably
mean,
our
like
OCD. Yeah.
I want to be the best, no matter what it is. I want to, if I'm doing it, I want to be the best at it. I might not always succeed, but I'm going to be better for it afterwards.
Curtis is going to do some genealogy stuff for me, Brett. So
I will if Clint gives me the information. But
yeah.
Hashtag Master Baker.
Yeah. Hashtag
Master Baker.
Hashtag send me the bata.
Hey, so I got a question. That's not. It sounds like I'm saying this to pick on Curtis. I'm definitely not. I was actually listening to Robert Meyer Burnett's show the other night, and they were talking about horror movies and talking about different things, and I had a few drinks, and I started firing in super chats, where that's where you tip the guy so they can read your question or your comment on the air. And I basically was saying this: have audiences become spoiled? As in, like, well, we're gonna get to that in a minute.
Ooh.
As in, just like music now with production. You got auto-tune and every other thing. Production can be polished to a point where it's like, is anybody really that impressed with singers anymore? It's like when was the last time a new singer you never heard of showed up? Now, I'm not saying creative wise, but production wise, it's like, okay, yeah, they went in there and tuned them, and yeah, it sounds good. I'm not blown away. Back in the old days, you'd hear somebody and it's just like, oh,
the first time Freddie Mercury
chills, yeah,
like,
We Are the Champions or something, and you're just like, yes. It's like, I feel like movies have gotten like that, because back when I was a kid and you see Christopher Reeves flying through the air and you don't see the wires and you're like, that's awesome, it's incredible. Now you have like garbage movies that have better effects than anything has had in forever, and I feel like now people will go and there'll be a perfectly decent movie, and somebody will see this movie and they're just like
argue.
They're just like, it's okay, I guess. And I'm like, are you crazy? People were complaining about Captain Marvel when that movie came out, and I'm like, what are you complaining about? That movie was fine.
I love
it
that
was
movie.
good. It was fun. And I'm like, if that movie,
that was a very good movie.
yeah, and if it had come out 10 years or 15, 20 years or before it came out, people would have wet themselves.
They would have shit themselves.
Yeah,
They
but
would have thought it
now
was Avatar.
But now it's like, okay, we're on our 23rd Marvel movie. People will be like, it's okay, I guess. Worst Marvel movie ever. You know what I mean? I'm just messing with you, Curse. But no, but I'm wondering.
I'm ready to go.
And the same thing with visual effects. You know what I mean? You'd see Jason chop somebody's head off, or you'd see some crazy thing in like a Freddy movie, Johnny Depp getting sucked into the bed, the bed and then spit out, and now you've got now they just use computers to make all these effects, and it's like, oh, he got his head chopped off. That did nothing for me. You know what I mean? Just because.
Wait. So that's a whole argument. So that's the thing. Practical effects still stand up way better than computer effects. You can watch any movie practical, because that thing is really in the room.
Yeah.
Someone created it, an artist did something, and I'm not saying that computer animators are not artists by any means, but someone actually created that. It was a real thing in the room with the actor. Okay, and there's all those problems and whatever goes wrong with it, but those were real things. Those were real sets. Like when you watch Conan the Barbarian, they built a freaking temple on the side of a hill. Like that was really there. Okay, those things existed, and yeah, like they might have. When you look back, some of them may have not looked as realistic or whatever.
Whatever.
But
I watched it the other day. It holds up.
It absolutely does. And
That's
if you look
a real
back
wheel he's pushing.
That's what I mean.
Mhm.
Someone built that. Those
Yeah.
were physical things that existed, and that's why they hold up and they look better than like computer graphic stuff. If you look back at, I mean, I love the original Spider-Mans, but when you look back, it's kind of like a cartoon jumping around now, like and it's going to be the same thing with the progression of computer graphics
Are you
over
talking,
and over again.
when you say original Spider-Man, you're talking about with Tobey Maguire?
Sam
So,
Raimi,
well, yes, yeah, not
the
the
Jurassic
TV
Park
movies and
effects,
stuff.
where you can see like, I can see that's a fucking.
Jurassic Park
Yeah.
still holds up
It's cool,
pretty
but you
damn
can,
well, but yes, but
I was-
the physical stuff in Jurassic Park and in those movies, when they did a mix, like that's the thing
Yeah.
for action shots, I get it. Like if it's a major action shot and the thing's tearing through town, you
There's a
can't
sweet
do
spot.
that with a
there's a sweet spot.
yeah.
I'm going to let you finish your rant, Curtis, but just to interject on the Jurassic Park thing, just a thought. I was talking about this with somebody, and they were saying like, yeah, but back when they came out, it's almost like they were scared that people weren't gonna believe it, so they would do things like make it dark and rainy to kind of conceal the CGI.
They still do
but,
that now.
Yeah, but I wonder if they're getting a little
It's
bolder.
to hide the
Yeah, but if they're not hiding it, they're like, oh, it looks good, and they just throw it out like, and
because
so now we're like,
audiences are used to it now. Like a lot of these kids haven't gone back and watched those older movies.
Yeah.
There
And
was
like
a
when you
tremendous-
show, go ahead, Brett.
There was a tremendous amount of practical effects in Jurassic Park.
Mhm.
Stan Winston Studios built the Raptors and built T-Rexes and stuff. Tremendous amount. So one thing you don't know about me is that I'm a special effects makeup artist. So it's part of having a haunted house and wanting people to look good. It was a skill set that I picked up and that I have a passion for, and the practical effects, they're just going away from Hollywood. And so we're trying to maintain those practical effects and trying to do those now, like in haunted house settings. The things that used to be on Hollywood, we can't get there anymore. It's really, it is sad. And I think that still, in an era when the technology of practical effects is at such an amazing level and peaking and growing because of the explosion of information and the information age and the way that everyone plays off of each other, where in this environment, you're always competing with the best people in the world with the internet, the way that it is. Before you'd be like, hey, I can juggle, and all your friends would be like, great, you can juggle. But now it's like, hey, you can juggle. Yeah, but can you do all these things when you juggle that all these people can do? And the same thing, like practical effects is at such a high level just because of the communication and the cross-pollination and all that.
Mhm.
And it's sad to see it go away. And I think that they need to make a concerted effort to blend practical effects with CGI.
I don't think it's going anywhere, Brett. Like it's coming back strong because the newer movies that are released with practical effects, everybody's loved. Of course, it's more of a horror genre. Like, let's be honest, not necessarily, but like they have been like if you hadn't seen The Void is amazing and it's all practical effects. But it's gonna get a resurgence. Like people are looking back at the older movies now because of the '80s resurgence, stuff like that, and they see the difference. It's a major difference.
Well, what do you think?
Here's the other thing about that argument, though, is that if you listen to Elon Musk, which if science is my religion, then Elon Musk is a high priest in my prophet, in my universe. And he says if you look at video games and the progression of video games since they started to now, and you look at a standard progression, that in no time at all, video games will be indistinguishable from reality.
Is it that?
I agree with that.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with
uncanny
those
valley?
special effects. Where we're going through a period of development, and they already so. It's unfathomable how rapidly they developed in time to what they are now from when they started in Hollywood. Which that's because they get pretty good,
right?
But
at the same time, the human eye, like the human eye, recognizes that stuff. They recognize whenever it's practical. Like no matter, I guarantee you put up the best CGI compared to to any kind of practical. The human eye recognizes it and identifies.
Real
with
is real.
Yes,
Real is real. That's why I would prefer to use actual steel with rivets than to take Luan and glue shit on there and take rusted paint and do some kind of special effects wall, because actual real is real. And when a real steel door slams and latches, that's a hatch off of a ship that weighs 250 pounds, which I happen to have one of those, and you're locked into a building with a 6-dog latch. You can see, hear, and feel the authenticity of it.
Well, and that's exactly my point. Well, what was really interesting whenever I was younger is, and if you're not sure, do this. So if you have, just go grab some change, and tell somebody to just drop whatever change. Your ear can tell what coin it is by the sound that it makes.
Yeah.
I mean, like little stuff like that. Like you don't realize that you're learning that as a human. Like, but you'll be able to tell that's a quarter, that's a dime, that's a nickel, that's a penny. Like whenever they drop it and you hear the sound on the ground, the frequencies are different, and you don't know that you're learning that. But I don't. It was at some point, and I was like, I know, like that was a quarter, or that was a nickel, or whatever. Like you recognize those things. And at the same time, Brett, have you thought about doing escape rooms whenever you're off season at?
I have one.
Oh, you do have. Oh, well, then talk about it.
We have an escape room. Well, our escape room's not running right now because of COVID.
It's called my basement.
It's called Escape the Lab, and you're locked into a laboratory, and you're trying to get out. Part of the way through, a zombie enters into the room, but they're on a chain. But as time goes on, the chain lengthens, and the drama enhances. And if you don't get out by 1 hour, the zombie is, quote, off the chain.
Nice.
Snap it a dab.
Yeah. So it accelerates the thought process when you have that extra stressor in the room with you, and brings some action to it.
Brett,
Yeah.
best zombie movie. Go. And you can qualify it any way you want. Don't
Dawn
feel
of the
pressure.
Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. All right.
Which
Original
one?
or remake?
Not Dawn of the Dead. The next one. What's the one that's the second morning?
Day of the Dead?
There's right. There's Night of the Living Dead, and then there's Dawn of the Dead, the one in the mall, and probably the second Dawn of the Dead, the remake.
I love that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one's good.
Very good. All right.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a Walking Dead fan, and that's my favorite. That's my favorite zombie movie.
I like the way they're going with the Reavers too this season.
Dave is wanting us to keep going philosophical over here. If you want to pull up his.
Dave, we haven't looked at the chat. We gotta.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about the chat, but
I keep forgetting when I have
I keep forgetting about the people that are actually watching us.
Clint's like, I'm not in the
Curtis.
chat, so I don't care about the chat.
Yeah.
Like,
Clint only cares if it's a super chat and you're like paying him.
Yeah. UFC Circuit 2003 got me into a gym learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It was really fun to learn and help me get some aggression out, says Danielle McCloskey.
All right.
Chris Klink said, no, he isn't. I don't know what the hell he was talking about.
I don't know
That was
either.
probably a long time ago. Isaac something. He's badass. I don't know what that...
Asimov. I think it was
It's
like,
Isaac
probably-
Asimov. Isaac Asimov.
Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix was embarrassing, bro. Yeah, that was
It
terrible.
was.
That one was terrible.
Woo.
And
Hey,
Chris is with Curtis on something or
Yeah.
other.
Danielle,
Probably that he is a realist.
Daniela,
yeah,
like-
I think
what's her
Klink is a
name? Daniela?
materialist as well.
Danielle McCloskey?
Danielle McCluskey, I'm glad you like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're female. You need to learn the other half of that, which is don't wind up in the ground. Go to some kind of really good judo gym. Because
I think you might have met Danielle.
I think I did.
Yeah.
But judo is really cool for females because judo will allow you to stay on your feet and have them hit your attacker with the world. You will hit them with the planet.
With the biggest rock you
Yeah.
can find.
You will hit them
You're
with
going
the
to
planet.
take the biggest rock you can find and hit them with that. And it just happens to be the planet Earth. Yeah.
Uncanny Valley. And I'm not even going to bring up a mom joke.
Uncanny Valley. Isn't that
Dave
more-
says
That's where I sold my last house. Come down to Uncanny Valley. You won't believe the savings.
something
If you-
Your mind won't be able to conceive how close it is.
Dave says that's something I've heard. The theory that we were all NPCs in a video game from a more advanced civilization. Yet, are we now on the edge of achieving this ourselves as humans? And then
Absolutely.
if we invent AI, we have a AI simulation game. Will those simulated beings in there develop enough smarts to make their own simulation
Eventually.
game inside their simulation, and then they will grow and so
Right.
It's like the soup
And there's
can.
a simulation
it's the,
inside that
it's the
simulation,
soup-
and then
it's
so
the
on,
soup
and
can
so on,
paradox.
and so
like the
on.
Russian
The
dolls
soup can
inside of each
paradox,
other.
Yeah.
So what
yeah.
level of simulation are we?
You
Are
better
we,
hope
know,
it's not a simulation, because that's going to be another God argument that a lot of like physicists and stuff aren't ready to have. Like, who's running the simulation? You know, can you speed up or slow down the
Right.
simulation?
If
but
you're,
what if the simulation
Are you
is
just a watchmaker?
self-perpetuating?
Are you just a clockmaker of the simulation? Or are you actively involved? Do the people in simulation have free will, or do they?
how could they be? If you're writing a program, how could you be actively involved in every single process? You set the rules and you put it in motion.
Unless you are everywhere at once.
And unless
yeah.
you have that kind of processing power.
Yeah, that's
Just
true.
think, it's not something that we could do
Well,
or that we could comprehend, but an AI, a super high level AI. Now, I was thinking about this in healthcare. Okay, so when I first started, they had a program called Iliad. And this was like, so I was in PA school like in '92. There was a program called Iliad. It was a diagnostic program, and you could put information in there, and it would tell you down to like 10 places what the diagnosis was and all the differentials and everything. And it looks at everything from so many different levels. Now, if you can imagine that the same person was treating 10,000 or 5 million people at one time, the same person, if it was possible for one doctor to be treating 5 million people at one time, do you think they would be more likely to pick up a pattern than someone that sees 24 people a day?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, because there's stuff that we don't know about or there's stuff I see people and they have weird inflammatory conditions and just these weird things that science does not yet understand.
Right.
You know, there's a
Well,
lot
and
of things that are known, but there's things that are unknown. So what I'm getting at is that just the power of an AI only in something like taking away my job in healthcare and taking away everybody else's job. And then what the hell are we for? I don't know. Maybe they'll use us for fertilizer.
Soylent Green is people.
But if anything could actually look at the actions of every person and have a response for that, it would be something on the level of a massive AI.
Yeah, man.
Well, especially whenever you talk about like genetic medicine, once we get into the fact that, you know, if you start tracing, you know, genetics wise, it's not an overall average of what every human exists or every American that exists.
Yeah, the
Symptom
genetic
wise,
variations.
yes, that brings out a whole new spectrum into it. At the same time, for the NPC thing, here's what I thought about.
I'm definitely
about
an
a week.
NPC. No,
And
Well,
so now we're
basic-
going
I'm
into
totally
NPCs
basic.
and genetics and modifications. Go.
So
Because we're putting bionics in there too, and cybernetics. Cybernetics, genetic manipulation, superhero world, go.
So, the extra dimensional stuff that exists in some physics, to me, it's not provable, and well, it's just not provable. Not even to me. As of
Don't
right now,
have
it's
the
not
instruments.
provable. That might be the case, or it's just not there. We live in a three-dimensional space and one dimension of time, and so they're talking about these extra dimensions being wrapped up in small and stuff like that. And imagining that or comprehending that is crazy ridiculous. But I was thinking about this. So going from Dave's premise that we're NPCs or we are in a simulation, okay, or not. Maybe we're creating the simulation. Maybe we are the true existence and we're creating the simulation. However you want to look at it. Imagine when you're playing a video game, okay? I'm going to use Zelda because it's my favorite and
Yeah.
it's a very open world system. Okay, where Link is in that world, where does that exist in our physical world? Whatever the coordinates are of your house and your TV in that game system is where it exists in
Right.
the physical world. Okay, in that cartridge or disc or whatever it is, within that's physically where it exists.
Electrons
But
on the
his
screen.
but his physical placement within the game exists outside of that three-dimensional space, and it's not even a real three-dimensional space as we would talk. It's not even 3D. It looks 3D, but it's not 3D. So that brought me on board as a way to understanding like extra dimensional space a little better, because it's not physically part of our 3D world. The TV screen is and all that stuff, but his, a character's physical space within a video game is not part of our physical world, and yet to us it exists. To the game, it exists. And again, like Brett was saying, you set the rules, and the game continues. What if we turn it off, or the game whatever goes dormant? I don't know. Who knows? Blah blah blah. And these characters keep living their lives. But to me, that was I'd like to talk to an information theorist.
Well, and for each character is designed with a code, right?
Right.
And that code is how you write the character. But isn't it interesting that we're just code?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
We're just code that's been set loose into the universe. We're all just DNA code, and there's not that much difference between us and pond scum in the code, right?
Right.
No, there's not. Yeah, there's really not.
But
Yeah.
also, even like pond scum, the DNA is not that different. So I've been thinking about this about making things and making a machine and making the ultimate machine. And what if you could make a machine that could make itself? What if you could create a machine that could create other machines? What if you could create a machine that could create itself only by consuming the elements around them? Biology.
Yeah.
You're talking about
Biology
life.
Yeah.
Biology is the ultimate machine. If you were going to create the highest level technology of a machine, it would be biological.
Somewhere
and
a
if all you had
DARPA
to
robot
do
has
was
come
manipulate
online.
that. So in my view of science, God is some kind of code writer.
Mhm.
And he wrote and I don't think that they're sitting around to see what happened with each person and how your moral behavior affected the overall of hierarchy of society. No, they're making macro adjustments to the code.
So I was thinking about that too, like that we're kind of electrons in like a giant like quantum processor. Maybe we're just like machine learning for like the God mind, like our filtering the experiences.
It's an experiment.
Or filtering whatever. Maybe not even an experiment. It's like a
refining process.
Yeah, like machine learning. It's like and that, in a way that's kind of like the Hindi way of thinking as well. It's like a higher process through learning, and coming back and experiencing lives until you reach a higher level. Maybe there's like each individual is like an electron on that screen that creates Zelda. We're all, you know what I mean? We're just flickering in and out of existence.
Like when
Dave put
I was gonna say,
Dave said a comment. Our virtual reality is in its total infancy. At some point and at some time, these NPCs will have awareness. And I was thinking about that, and I'm going to pass it on to Curtis. But I was thinking about that too. What about these like robots? Like you were talking about DARPA.
I said, Brett, what you said just made a DARPA robot come online. I must kill Brett Baker. He has figured it out.
Yeah. But how?
Skynet.
But how long before you're talking about how fast these video games are developing and becoming more realistic? There's going to be AI, like all of Dave said Clint just wants to talk about burritos. That's right, Dave. I really do.
Damn it, man.
They don't sell burritos at Subway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even like Subway that much, Curtis. I just said that
You were like,
Yeah.
I just want to do something exciting, like go to Subway.
compared to a Netflix film, that's good. That's super exciting compared to a Netflix film. That was my point. But no, it's but how long we're talking about characters coming to life, but how long until that code is in a robot and we have like real Commander Datas walking around and we can't tell the difference? Because I know they have robots and stuff now that they do that. I'm not talking about real dolls. You guys settle down, but yeah, it's crazy to think like the speed that technology is advancing. That like 20 years from now, are we going to have like robots walking, coming in and like coming in to change?
You haven't seen the Tesla robot? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Tesla came out with a robot that can do menial tasks,
Clint.
like run a podcast, carry your groceries into the house, carry lumber.
So it could only run 5 miles an hour, so you could outrun it if you had to, and you could probably physically overpower it. He actually said that. He's like, you could physically overpower it.
But you could have a self-driving car come to people's.
A quarter of Americans could outrun it. A quarter of Americans.
A quarter of them.
Not everybody.
You could have a nurse that drives itself to the residence, goes in and gives the elderly person their insulin shot, and then leaves. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Curtis, what were you going to get into a second ago?
Well. First, just for a heads up, Americans, you're not losing your jobs due to immigrants. You're losing your jobs due to
robots.
Automation.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's going to continue happening. But at the same time, so Dave's talking about over here, the NPCs becoming self-aware. Whenever you see a glitch in a game, okay, and it does something that it's not supposed to do, that is basically the biological equivalent of a genetic mutation.
That's a
now,
badass premise for a movie.
if that produces positive results, it's going to continue happening. If it produces negative results, we're done here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, within a game sphere, we are gods and we just reset it, or we do whatever we do. But if the game just continues to run, that's the thing. That a glitch is a genetic mutation that occurs, and if it's positive, that can take over, and that'll be all there is. Instead of saying
natural selection.
Yes, yes, very much so.
Go see Free Guy, starring Ryan Reynolds in theaters.
Well, now I really want to. Dang it!
Brought to you by
It was a fantastic movie.
Coca-Cola and science.
So going back to the question, we went off on a beautiful.
So we all took ayahuasca, and we've just
that was a fun.
That
was awesome. But do you think people are getting complacent and spoiled with because of technology and movie making, where now things that we would find to be fantastic 20 years ago are just like meh? Or do you think that that it needs to just keep getting better and better and better until we can't tell the difference between reality? Is it still all about storytelling? And it's like, hey, you can polish that turd as much as you want. If the storytelling is not there, what do you think? Where do you think we're at with that question?
The storytelling needs to be there, but the genre is going to change. Mm-hmm. Back to the high priest Elon Musk, we got the Neuralink coming.
What's that movie where they actually Strange Days? Where they actually have the wetware. I'm convinced Elon just takes his favorite movies and just makes them real. Like the Spaceballs flamethrower. I'm like, he has a flamethrower just like, the Mel Brooks character, Yoda character on Spaceballs.
Yeah.
His cars go plaid and ludicrous. Like, I think he just takes his favorite movies and he's like, I really liked that Strange Days movie. Angela Bassett really does it for me.
I have another theory.
Why is Elon Musk such an old man in your head?
He sounds like Dr. Evil mixed with
He's there.
I can't do South African very well.
I have another theory too, that there's always been this many complainers. It's just they maybe sat around at the lunchroom or in the comic shop and bitched about it, and now we're all so connected that we just hear all of the what I call crybabies, complain about these things. So we're like, God, people used to love Marvel movies. Now everybody's complaining about them or whatever. The
worst movie
Just
ever.
like you're saying.
You
Unfortunately, unfortunately, the power of negativity holds like 10 times the weight of the power of positivity. So one negative comment on your on your reviews, it needs 10 comments to overpower it. It's
you don't know
not
is I don't
cool,
read
but
those
it's kind of
reviews.
reality that and so some people find that they can maybe make more traction and get more attention by throwing out negativity like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe sometimes it's just how they feel.
At the same time,
And we have to deal with that.
But at the same time, like, let's be honest, movie studios know they don't have to try as hard. They when we were talking about story earlier, the visuals are going to get better. They're going to get more spectacular. That's just natural progress. That's going to occur. Okay, it's going to be, but at the same time, like story, like how many times have they remade the same movie or rebooted a series or like when was the last time you literally saw something and you were like, that's a new idea? Like, wow, I never thought of that.
I think that they're doing that because they're trying to do what they think is going to work and winning formulas. And it's kind of hard to say that they're not trying. Have you looked at the credits on a movie and how many people have put forth how much energy? Can you imagine how much human potential and power went into just the one?
But yes, but no, I'm not saying that the little people aren't trying. Yes, the little people are trying, but the people at the top are like, what is going to make us money? Yeah. This is a big name. This was a hit back then. Let's remake it. Let's reboot it. Let's to see it. Like they're not.
I just saw. Speaking of which, they're redoing West Side Story. I'm going to go watch it. Don't get me wrong. I love West Side Story.
Is it going to have all the same songs?
You're a jet to the core, from your first cigarette to your last dying breath. Oh,
I sing I Feel Pretty every time I wake up in the morning. I feel pretty.
You are pretty every time you wake up in the morning, Dustin.
Yeah.
Well, going back to a virtual reality.
Thanks for bringing us back.
Simulation kind of thing. What do you guys think of this?
Dude.
John Wick 4 and the Matrix Resurrections.
Matrix Erections. You really almost said that.
The Matrix Erections coming out on 12/22. Both of those Keanu movies are coming out in the same day.
I just love Keanu.
You're shitting me.
He's the best.
Yeah, they're coming out the same day because they're both his movies, and he's like,
wow.
I'm gonna speed it up. He's like, I'm gonna just get crazy. So they're releasing both those movies on the same day.
So Keanu fans can't go to both of them at the same time,
Yeah, Keanu Day. I'll go see one right after the other.
Keanu,
maybe?
No.
What do you mean you don't know?
I said Keanu, no.
Oh yeah, I'll be at the 9:20 showing, and then I'll catch the 10. I guess I better go to an earlier showing. I'll be at the 6:30 showing and the 10 o'clock.
They're
showing.
coming around about Christmas. We'll have time off.
They'll have to knock me over the head with the Matrix one, but I'll definitely watch the Wick. Best weapons.
I thought you were going to go with Matrix Resurrection versus John Wick. Which one would win in a fight? And,
John Wick wins.
No, hands down. Neo can manipulate time and space.
Neo can't get out of his mother's basement.
John Wick has no chance in hell. Unfortunately, because he operates in normal physics. He might be really good against, typical mortals, but, a god that controls all time and space, he's got no chance.
Yeah.
So I am in the minority. I have not seen the John Wick movies.
What?
Right.
I don't know if
they're good.
So when you have a kid, it's like this cultural vacuum, and like you don't see, like, if it's not rated G, like, honestly, until we started doing the show, like, I hadn't seen a lot of things or rewatched a lot of things in a long time. Everybody says they're great. I want to check them out, but I haven't seen them. The Matrix, I don't know how on board I was on that either. Like the first one was
Did you say you were bored with that too? That just
No,
tells me you don't like movies.
On board, I
You
was
got,
with
you
those
got bored.
either.
You got bored with
Um,
Shang-Chi and then The Matrix. Come
once,
on, man.
like once they started using humans as batteries, it's like that's just like the least like ideal battery that you can think of.
Not if
It's
you
very
had
disturbing,
billions and
though.
billions of them. You're just
It
utilizing
is very
what's
disturbing.
there.
Yes. Yeah, but you could. I mean, there's like
This is the reason you're in the Matrix. So
Yeah.
they had to come up with a reason you were in the Matrix. And
right. Well, and the Wachowskis wanted to make a superhero movie, and this is like I thought that was a very smart idea. Like they were like, we want to make a superhero, but have it be like he doesn't get radioactive powers or whatever it is, and that's why they wanted to like do it like that, and it worked. That to me that worked very well. But in the sequels, I definitely didn't hate them. I thought they were I thought they were good, but at the same time, like I wasn't as invested as a lot of people were.
The
So
I feel like it's a great franchise. It's very Lord of the Rings like it has a good continuity, and it's like takes you on a journey, and it's like peeling an onion, like you want all those kind of, it's not quite like Star Wars level or something like that, but I thought it was culturally it's extremely
they're
relevant
definitely
and
good. No, I'm
continues to
not.
be.
I'm not arguing that. They're definitely
Mhm.
good. Yeah, but some people are very much about them. I'm not in that boat. I don't know if anybody's very much against them, but
I've never heard of anybody that was like, yeah, fuck the Matrix.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. Like they're definitely good, but they're not. Well, now that we're on the topic, or to go off topic, I don't get the deal with Avatar. We can come back to that later, but I don't
I
know
don't like
why.
Avatar either.
I thought it was cool, but I also think other IMAX
Like,
shit,
why?
like IMAX goes to the Grand Canyon. I could have like done the same thing.
Meh.
Like,
They
just-
didn't use practical effects.
I didn't like
Like,
the,
Avatar.
I didn't
Yeah.
like
I-
the tip of the
That's
hat
one
to
of the only
Native
movies.
American exploitation thing. It's like he tried to
Yeah.
shove 15 pounds in a 10-pound bag. It was ambitious, and he sort of executed it, Cameron.
But
And he
there's like
usually
5
knocks it out of
sequels
the
in the
park.
can apparently. Like,
Yeah.
I
Avatar
enjoyed
is
it.
one of the only.
Yeah, Brett, you go.
It's one of the only movies that I've ever been in that at the end of the movie I didn't want to leave. Like they transported me into that world, and I felt as if I had actually transitioned to this other world when he transported where he was permanently in his avatar body. I'm like, yeah, this is good. We're here. We're in this. It's great. And then they're like, and come back.
Right.
Just
So
like
let me ask you
Master
this.
Sunyata.
let me ask you this, Brett. Did you watch it in 3D the first time when you watched it?
Yeah, I did.
So,
and I don't like 3D movies. I don't
know,
like 3D
and
movies. I can't see them right, but that one
Right.
worked.
I've heard this from people that it is literally the best 3D movie that exists, and if you had seen it in theaters on 3D first, it was much more impressive and much more of a
Immersive.
like you were saying immersive
Immersive,
movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't see that. I saw it on
theaters
2D.
in 3D.
Yeah, and I saw it in 2D on DVD and or whatever, and maybe anyway, and I don't get the appeal of it. Like it's okay.
I enjoyed it.
I
too,
definitely enjoyed it, but
Mhm.
there's a huge following out there for it.
I felt like zero. of
And
the
I have heard the
characters were
same thing
fully
that Brett's
fleshed out.
saying.
I'm with you, Curtis. Though, like I felt the same way. I was like, I enjoyed it. And it was a good movie, but it didn't blow my socks off like it does some of the fans. Like you said, there is a huge fan base. And if Avatar 2 comes out tomorrow, I'm gonna go see it. Probably first showing. I love any sci-fi movie. I love it. But I don't know if it's I don't know why. I just didn't get it. Didn't pull me into. There's certain franchises or certain things that you love more than others. You know what I mean?
I would have rather seen John Carter 2 than Avatar 2. I'll put it that way.
I wouldn't bag on it like that. Come on, man.
I like John
But
Carter.
I wanted
Virginia.
to bring before it slips my mind. If you haven't yet, there's a website. It's www.whatisthematrix.com. and you can watch 2 trailers, and it's cool. Well, you can't even see
Son
that.
of a bitches. No, they can see it.
They have 2 pills.
And here's my phone.
No,
Check out my phone.
They have a. I'll do this.
Yeah, give it to me, Clint.
That's right. So you do this.
Give me
Hold on.
that funk, that sweet, that
Yeah.
nasty, that gushy
Stick in
stuff.
There we go. Yeah. So
Did that work? No one else can see it, but you're.
right here, boom. Wait for it.
There you go.
Right down here. You go and you could pick the pill that you want, red or blue pill, and you pick the red, and it starts showing a trailer. And I'm gonna take it down because I don't want it to play, because I don't want to get a copyright strike.
Yeah.
Or you pick the blue pill. But what's amazing if it's like you were in this reality. You think it's 10:43. But it's really not. Blah blah blah, and then and it does the thing, and then I watch the other video, and then it's like blah 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 blah. In the Matrix, it's 10:44. Blah blah blah. Like, that's weird. It was 10:43 on that video on the red pill, and then the blue pill was 10:44. Then I go back and I watched it again 10 minutes later, and it's like. It's 10:53, and I'm like, oh, what? They said 43 before, and I'm like,
It's
what?
really good.
And then I listen to the next. I hit the next
Yeah.
pill, and it's like it's 10:54. I'm like, holy crap!
They
That
just
was. And
Mandela your ass.
am
Oh,
I
wait.
crazy?
Are you-
And then
Are
I
you
went.
amazed by the passage of time? You were probably on the other one for a minute. What are you talking about?
And then and this is like voiceover done by a voiceover guy, and for this trailer, and it's like, you're back in the Matrix, and it's 10. And then I like 30 minutes later, I go in, and it's like, you're back in the Matrix. It's 11:23. I'm like, oh shit! And then I realized, and then I looked at the clock, and it was 11:23. So they changed the time every time you watch a video. It's actually what time. I didn't realize it was that time of the day. And at first, I thought that like these crazy people just put like. They probably put like 10 different versions just to mess with people's minds. Like,
Yeah.
but is it really 10:23, or is it you're in the Matrix? You don't know what's real, and it was pretty crazy. So if anybody does that, it'll blow your mind that the time keeps changing on that. But once you realize, oh, it's actually 10:45 right now, and that's what they said in the video, then it makes sense. But yeah, for about 30 minutes, I was losing my mind.
I know what you mean.
I went back and watched that video like 5 times. To just
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, that's
and then,
brilliant.
And then the one on YouTube is a fixed number because they don't have the
Right.
program that they have on the website that constantly changes the time. So the one on YouTube was like fixed, and I go, it's over here, it's this, over
Yeah.
there, it's that. What is happening? Am I in the Matrix? Is this a?
You know you can get Siri to make fart noises, right? Or Alexa.
Or Alexa.
You can tell them to fart, and they'll make fart noises.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Is that amazing?
Now you're in the Matrix.
Yeah. Fart noises.
Siri, make fart noises. Anyway, she says that may be beyond what I can do.
Yeah, whatever.
Just ask
Don't be
what I
so
can do.
coy.
Make a fart noise.
Don't be so
Alexa,
coy with us,
Alexa
Siri.
can do it.
Alexa's way cooler of a lady to hang out with than Siri. She's a little bit wild. She's like the wild sister.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa.
You want to date her, but you don't want to marry her.
Yeah, I don't want to
You
take her
date
to
Alexa,
prom.
but you marry Siri.
That's right. Alexa, center stage. Nobody wants to see Siri. She's like a lunchtime, on a Tuesday.
She's got a ponytail
Yeah,
and
whatever.
glasses.
Siri.
Time is it? Any other news that you guys have noticed? I'm excited for those 2 movies. Other news? Question mark? Hey, where's Bob Ross?
That's not a question mark.
Oh, it's exclamation point.
That's
he'll
an
be back.
exclamation point. In a world where exclamation points are replaced by question marks.
Okay, let's jump. Avatar had a political undertone. I didn't like it. Keeps politics out of movies. Dave says, I went to see Matrix with my roommate, He spilled his nachos all over his shirt. He said, "Oh man, this always happens." That's when I realized the Matrix didn't exist.
But if it always happens, maybe he was
Yeah,
pre-programmed to
it does
spill nachos.
it does exist. It's just not that cool. It's like a really bad program.
Well, no, they had a perfect world, and it didn't work.
That's
Humans
right.
could not
Yeah,
exist
yeah. That's
without
right.
the flaws. Humans could not exist without the flaws and the struggle. We required the struggle to be.
It's a Kafka kind of thing.
Because otherwise, that's why he spills the nachos, because we could not exist in a world without spilled nachos.
What's sad, and I really like that they did that, but at the same time, I think that the vast majority of humans, sadly, could live in that cattle world, and then they would just kill off the ones that couldn't. You know what I mean? Like I wish it weren't true, but Logan's Run and Soylent Green and stuff like that. Like if you told the majority of humans, like, look, you can live till you're 50, and you'll get whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then we just kill you and we eat you. I think a lot of humans would be like, all right, we're cool.
All right. If everybody's doing it, I mean,
it's actually a good idea. The world is overpopulated.
Yeah. If you could just give me a bunch of followers on Instagram.
I'm not saying go with it, but
yeah,
I think that most of them
Brett,
there would be a bunch that wouldn't.
I think
I don't know about being exploded, but if they could give you something good that would send you off with a nice smooth party,
I think the world would stratify.
Whatever you want.
Hey guys, let's not all talk over each other at the same time. Let's take turns because there's a lag. So
You're a lag.
I'm having to wrangle people in. So one at a time. Otherwise, it sounds like nonsense to poor Dave Keel, who's trying to listen to us.
Yeah, Clint just put me in a digital timeout. People at home.
Here's your timeout.
And then there was silence.
Yeah. So who's first? Soylent Green. Brett, you turned into a Bond villain. You're like, the world's overpopulated. That's not it. That's not too bad. From your hollowed out volcano with swords in the background, I'm like, uh-oh.
I think the world would stratify, kind of like how it is in Elysium. I don't think everybody would go along with erase me at 50. Or
and
like
Dave says,
world.
Dave says he's 51 and he's not ready to be eaten. I agree with that. Everything is generational, though. Everything is generational. The new the new kids coming up and be like, sure,
yeah, whatever, boomer.
I can have my super party and this and that. Go ahead, Brett. I'm sorry.
Thanos is not entirely wrong. There's a finite resource. And when you look at most of the problems we have, it's related to population explosion, and it just keeps going. And we're not doing anything to correct it. The only people who kind of did was the Chinese, and that really backfired on them. They're like, you can have one child, and now they're like 90% guys, and those poor guys, can't find a wife. And
it's literally raining men.
I don't know what the solution is, but somehow we have to rein it in. I know what's not the solution. Well, I don't want to talk about politics, but probably,
I was about to say that's a whole different conversation, Brett. But
Brett, were you going to say, give me a robot?
More children.
That's not the solution, but that's going to be the solution.
Vasectomies for everyone. That's...
Robot ladies.
Hey, they have those in Japan already, and they can even carry your child for you. Did you know that men actually have enough genetic material to create a child in a lab, whereas women don't, because we have an X and O chromosome. We have X and O. They only have XX. So they can actually create a child just from your genetic material and carry it in your robot.
Right.
If you happen to be a Japanese billionaire, and your robot can go everywhere with you. She's sweet to you. She doesn't sass you. She sasses you as much as you really like to be sassed.
Right.
And yeah.
I tell you what, Eve, I've got one rib on it. If you want.
Dave says computers have kind of ruined it. Watch the car chase with Steve McQueen in Bullet. Nothing computer manipulated can even compare with that. Thoughts?
That's what we were talking about earlier with practical effects. I mean, same thing with explosions. You can tell the same thing now. The virtual blood really bothered me. It's I guess it's getting better, but like whenever they would just like show gunshots and stuff, and it's like you can just tell it's like the virtual like gunshots and stuff like that. It was just completely obvious.
Completely
And
unnecessary too.
That's the
right,
Blood
cool
is
thing
cheap.
about-
CGI
what is
is
this-
expensive. Why are they spending that money on CGI when all they have to do is do a blood effect?
Yeah,
you just do a
squids.
squib.
Are high
Yeah.
on crack?
I mean, that's actually biologically how. I mean, that's why it looks so real, because biologically, that's what bullets do to people.
Right.
The back pressure of the round expanding like that. It's
Soon.
pretty cool.
Oh, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the when the new Blade comes out, that new Blade is supposed to be PG-13 because
Boo.
it's Disney, so they're not going to be able to show any blood. How do you have a vampire samurai
There-
action movie with no blood? How do you do that?
Oh,
They-
Hold my
Blade
beer.
You turn the
explodes with
camera
blood.
every time,
Hold my beer.
but you just don't show it. It's
Disney needs to separate into Disney and Fox and release the R-rated movies on Fox or 20th Century, whatever the hell they want to call it.
yeah.
And the other ones on Disney. There has to be some good R-rated movies for adults. Blade is one of them.
I'm pretty sure that's why like HBO Max is gonna like pull away at some point. Like they're programming
Honestly,
things that
yeah.
they're like coming out with some really good shit.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tito?
I mean,
you're up on all that.
well, I mean, they just did the Suicide Squad is straight up blowing people up and
Yeah.
rated R, no apologies. They're just like, do whatever you want.
And it was a blast.
and it
Their
was fun.
series are great. Raised by Wolves. The
Mhm.
storytelling is incredible.
Have you seen that, Brett? The Suicide Squad.
I saw the first one. I haven't seen the remake.
The second one's not a remake. It's more of a continuation, and it's got some of the same characters from the first one and some new characters. And a lot of people think it's a remake. It's not, but it's really good. It's James Gunn who did the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and he
wrote Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yeah, and he's all about dick and fart jokes and just
Yeah.
ridiculous and they don't play around. They're not scared to kill a major character. It'll just like it's just fun. It's like random things happen and you're like, what the? You just start laughing because it's not taking itself too seriously. It's fun.
As Texans here, I would just like to say, if you watch the commentary on the Dawn of the Dead remake, one of the things that they wanted to put in there, and they did, I didn't notice it necessarily the first time through, was the Alamo feel of the zombies on the mall. And if you notice, they're playing chess with an Alamo chess set, and there's all these other things that they put in there that is like based around the Alamo, which I thought was really cool.
That's super cool.
Cool. Hey, Dave says Halloween didn't have much blood, if any blood, in it. Halloween also didn't have characters that consumed blood or carried samurai swords. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if
And-
you've seen the previous Blade, when he tends to blow them up, it's like big blood sacks.
Yeah,
I mean,
blow
they
up.
must use 500 gallons of blood, in a Blade movie just on exploding vampires.
Hell yeah.
They can make it work, man, but it's not. And this thing, like Halloween, like true, but we don't expect Blade to be a slasher movie. Okay, he's killing monsters technically. Michael Myers was killing humans, so back in those days you could get away with just that shock effect, And there's blood in it, but you're right, it's not a gore fest by any means.
That might be the loophole for the rating. Maybe it's like if they're killing monsters that they can do that as PG-13. I don't know what the
Or
rules
like
are.
black blood, like a different color.
That's absolutely they do they do that as well. Evil Dead did that.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty smart way to do it and be like kind of,
Yeah.
they could say something about the blood, like
Or
it
like
lacks
Mortal
the
Kombat.
soul.
Yeah,
of
in
like,
Mortal Kombat, it was green blood for the
That's right.
Nintendo,
Yeah, that's right. I remember
and
that.
so it's like they're vampires, whatever. Like we don't know their physiology.
Dude, is somebody gonna give Steven Dorn a freaking job with this new blade thing. Did anybody
Steven
catch him?
Dorff.
No.
Anybody catch him like talking trash about actors that get in Marvel movies? And I was like, bro,
He was
you
talking.
are in Blade.
He was talking trash about Scarlett Johansson and was like, she should. I think it was Scarlett Johansson was like, yeah, she should be embarrassed about it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I was like, dude, you got canceled one season on The Deputy. All right.
Awesome. Well, man, it's we just hit 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's getting late, so I think we should probably shut it down here pretty soon. Real quick, I'm gonna go and talk to the folks and say, hey guys, if you want to help out the channel, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Come back every Tuesday. We'll be here. And hey, I wonder what Bob Ross is up to. Oh, hey, Bob Ross.
I really love
Bob.
this. I really love this
Now,
versus.
At the same time, when you like and subscribe, tell us what you want to see. Put it in the comments, so that we want to give you what you want to see. So let us know. Let's talk about it. And like and subscribe.
Yeah, sometimes there's some hot movies and topics that have escaped us. Is it a series on Netflix that's cool? We got why the Last Man Standing. Is that what it is?
The last man on Earth.
Yeah,
Or
that's
Last
what it is.
Man. Yeah, why the last?
Last Man Standing. Why the Last Comic Standing? And then and we got all kinds of crazy stuff. We're going to be doing a bunch of horror stuff next month during October because we got Halloween coming, and I'm sure we're going to try and get Brett to come back and talk more about horror and practical effects and stuff when we have a movie that's down that alley and stuff. And Brett, I really appreciate you jumping on, talking about martial arts and just giving your insight on just life in general. It was awesome. We always have a good time talking, and sometimes you'll get on one of these things and somebody's a little awkward and weird, and you got along great, and it was really fun and interesting talking to you. So thanks, man.
You're welcome, bro.
Plus, you're my brother, and I hardly get to see you. We're always busy, so I gotta come visit soon. And
Can I tell an awkward martial arts story?
do it,
Please.
man, dude. Say whatever you want.
So, but I've been into martial arts, most of my life since I've been able to do it. And I always, one of my memories for you was when I came home and you were there, and I wanted you to learn martial arts, but I couldn't be around to do that for you because I was in the military. And so we found you a local school in your town, and I went and got you started, and you got to have that experience. And except it was probably more Cobra Kai than the other dojo, but
It was awesome, actually. Walloon Kung Fu is Pablo J. Zamora. It was praying mantis style.
He actually
And
told this story fondly.
I told this the other day, and
Yeah.
it was awesome. The worst part about it was that I was going and learning forms and things, and then I would go over with my cousins who were taking Taekwondo, and they're sparring. So we go over in the yard, and then they're like trying to hit me, and I'm like, dude, I know these forms. I don't know how to spar yet. I got to do this for like another year before they let me spar. You know what I mean? So I was like, all I want to do is punch my cousin in the face. But I really enjoyed that. I've even thought about taking Tai Chi and stuff because there was a very relaxing element to it. And I've thought about it now. I was like, I wonder if there's any places around Austin. But anyway, I always appreciated that. I was like, yeah, my big brother came down from the Navy, and he got me 6 months of Kung Fu, and
That's awesome.
and it was awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Walloon Kung Fu. So and Curtis, I talked to Brett too, and I told him about your sister's a special effects or a makeup person. Maybe we can get you guys to hook up and do that. Since your family, Curtis, since your cousin's with us, and maybe we can work something on that. We'll talk about that more soon. And at some point, I'm gonna have to come over to Houston to visit Brett and you, Curtis, both. So
2 birds, 1 stone, baby.
that's what I'm talking about. So anyway, guys,
Well, why don't you try to come in October and check out the haunt?
yeah, that's the plan. I'm
Cool.
Yeah, it might even just take we could do.
Brett, Go ahead.
I was gonna say I could pack up a mobile rig and do a pod. We could do a show from the
That
place
would be
if you
cool.
wanted, and that would be really fun.
You
Even
could teach me how to
that'd be
run
cool.
this thing, and I could run this and just like beam you guys in
and even
Or you could come down, Dustin. Or you
you
could
can
come
come
down.
and drag my 3 kids.
It's like 2.5 hours, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could do some fun stuff. Even talk to some of the actors that are
man.
at your place, or
Right.
do
We
all,
got some pretty cool characters that you could interact with.
yeah, it would be
Brett,
fun. It would be fun, and we could just sit there and talk and yeah. What were you
I
saying,
was gonna
Curtis?
No, I was gonna say, Brett. I'll help out as much as you want. I'm not a good attendee. I don't get scared. I get punchy. So I quit. I quit going. I quit
He has
going to
hysterical
haunted houses
strength.
a long time ago. My first reaction is I'm not a fight. When it comes to fight or flight, I'm a fight person, and like I don't. It's bad. So
Yeah, we
I
have
will-
we have county sheriff's officers on the property, and funny enough, when people see them, then they don't get as fighty.
Really?
I believe
when
that.
they're going through. They all of a sudden they're like, "I'm a fight guy," and then they see the county sheriff with his handcuffs and shit, and they're like, "Oh, I forgot
believe
about the fight. I guess I'll just fight."
But it just yeah, I like that's
Yeah,
my
no, I
first-
understand the sentiment.
Man, when
Yeah.
when I start seeing the bent backwards people, contortionists walking up backwards, like Exorcist style, that one freaks me
Yeah.
out. And having your nephew slide across the floor with sparks and a chainsaw is pretty cool too. So, yeah. Well, awesome, man. Well, then I'm going to cut it short here, or it's not cutting it short. We cut it long. We almost hit 3 hours. So I got everybody involved. Love you guys. I had a great time. Everybody at home, thanks for comments. Thanks for watching. And we'll be back next Tuesday. So, and anybody on here, you don't have to hang up. I'm just going to run this and go offline, and then we can still talk if you guys want to talk after this. But
Cool, man.
all right, everybody at home, thanks so much, and we will see you soon.